And
Hi
then
everyone, welcome to the live stream. We are here tonight, absolutely raw dogging this live stream for you. We have a cabal of nerds on hand here who are going to help you understand what's happening in this federal election, and we've got some data that will hopefully, fingers, toes and ovaries crossed, is going to actually live stream through to us from the AEC website. We haven't been able to test this yet, but that's okay. You know, may as well live life by the seat of your pants. Dan is madly in the background still doing some nerdy things. So he will be here momentarily. So for those of you who love Graetzy and have tuned in to see him and hear him, he will be here momentarily. But in the meantime, you can see, this is myself. I'm Jen, total amateur, just touched my microphone. I'm Jen, been a long time collaborator with Dan in the background most of the time. And this is Zach Callaghan. And we're here tonight to just help you understand what's happening for the election. You can comment, we can see your comments, chuck any comment you like in the live stream, and if it's funny and good enough, we'll publish it to the live stream as well. Basic, you know, basic rules apply. Play the man, not the ball, or the other way around, I think it is. Play the ball.
what are
not the
those
man.
rules? Yeah.
play the person, not the ball. No, still the other way around.
Yeah.
Play the ball.
Play the ball, not the person.
Sorry,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're
But
safe
yeah.
with us.
Just, yeah, but, you know, just be respectful. That's all we're asking, unlike the Australian politicians. So if you've got any questions as well, pop them in the chat. We'd love to answer them. We're here tonight to help you understand that the two-party preferred or two-candidate preferred system is probably almost completely dead. And we just want to show you the differences between what's happened in the last sort of 15 to 20 years around elections and what's happening now. So there's some super strong independent candidates who have been put up for election this year. We know that we've got six lower house and one upper house independent candidate so far, and we're hoping for a lot more. One of the most interesting stats I read was that up to the Gillard government, which was a minority government, they were the most productive government for, you know, a quarter of a century, basically, because they were forced to negotiate. So they passed more legislation than any other government for a very long time. So what we're personally hoping for is a minority government, because that will lead to better outcomes, more negotiation, and a much more, I guess you might say, fairer, equitable, you know, sort of outcome for people. So yeah, what are you hoping for this as an outcome for this election?
Oh, look, I love the way that Australian voters turn out, and that we're not nasty to each other in general. So I hope that can follow through in terms of the results that we have, that we're hopefully with a lot more younger voters able to vote this time around, that hopefully people will be voting for not just themselves, but for the betterment of Australia.
It's interesting because this year, for the first time, young voters, 18 to 34, outweigh the number of baby boomer voters for the very first time. So that's really, really exciting about, you know, in terms of the sort of what the demography of the election actually looks like.
And the other stat that I was really interested in was that a third of voters are not born in Australia.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's a third. So
yeah, that's super interesting.
Which is interesting in terms of immigration policies and a whole range of things. So
yeah.
Let's
Anyway,
see.
that's exciting. So in the room just behind the camera, so that you can't see, there is a nerd locked in a cave. That nerd is Luke. He has been locked in that cave for, I think, about 5 days now. I'm not sure that he's been allowed out. I have seen him put a different shirt on today, so I assume he has gone home at some point.
There's air conditioning in there, but it's very hot. It's very tense in what's going on there.
I think it's actually his brain that's working super hard. So yeah, so look, he's giving us some really amazing, incredible data and visualization around what's actually happening in these electorates. So I'm not sure if we're in a position to actually have a look at some of this data now, or to have a look at what's possible with these electorates, but we're just waiting for Dan to
clean his glasses.
Dan's
I think
currently selecting which glasses he's going to wear.
Pretty exciting.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah.
Ones I can live stream from.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, great. He's got the Ray-Bans
not the Dame Edna. Don't wear those ones. You can if you want. Yeah.
Right.
No, okay.
We're almost there. As I said when we started, we are absolutely raw dogging this. So, you know.
And if you're lucky, you can hear the dog barking in the background too. So
literally raw dogging. Dan is fancy. What is your Now, drum roll, please. Introducing everyone.
Oh, nice shirt. Yeah.
Dan.
Thanks.
Dan is coming on now.
Just clipping in.
Here he is.
Hey.
Hey, here he is.
It's wonderful to be here, and I apologise for how long it's taken. I think we're probably, see if I duck like that, you can probably see my face, because this is a skeleton crew attempting something fairly ridiculous and ambitious, which is to find a way to visualise the average Australian election without being stuck in the old two-party blue versus red horse race that the mainstream media seems so obsessed with. And what we did was really put all our time into figuring out how to make a map that has about 1,200 aspiring politicians on it. And the stuff we left till the last minute, like cameras, lights, sound, live streams, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're seeing us right now, just know that this is something kind of miraculous.
It is a miracle.
If you could kind of bear with us on the process and just give us a little bit of slack. Once we hit our groove, I swear we're going to have a really good time. A few things to note. We should be theoretically live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at the moment. The undercurrent's not great at the whole social media thing, so whether people know that is even a thing remains to be seen. But we do want to make this as interactive as possible, and that's why Jen has access to all of your comments, and we've got the ability to put them up on screen. So if you want to know certain things about what's going on in this year's federal election, make sure that you hit us up. If you want to see a certain electorate and get the updates from that, we'd love to be able to show that to you. Before we get into this nonsense here, and it's a lot of fun, it really is, I absolutely want to just thank our two guests for taking the slack while I was getting changed. And I want to introduce them both. So first of all, Zach, we're really excited to have here. They are a theatre creator, therapist, activist, extremely politically engaged, and just a bloody awesome person all around. So Zach, thanks for coming.
Happy to be here. Thank you. I'm excited.
Are you comfortable sharing how your vote went down? Like,
yeah.
What was you don't have to tell us every one of the preferences, but
Yeah.
remember.
I cannot remember. I did an early vote as soon as I could, and I went with Greens because for me, still the policies are what most align to what I think is for everybody. I think obviously cost of living, rental crisis, housing crisis. I don't have kids, but I don't understand how people of my age and generation, and today I worked out I am the same age as Peter Dutton, which was shocking for me. How great do I look compared to Peter Dutton?
I know.
So
That's
shocking,
what I said.
shocking.
I'm like,
But
like he's heaps older than you.
and so for me, like really going, what is best for everybody is always the way I've voted all the time. So I'm not aligned to any particular party. It's always just looking at where it is. In my particular electorate, I do have a sitting Greens member. So that was a pretty easy kind of vote to go with, yeah.
Which electorate's that?
Now you're asking me that, Griffith.
Max Chandler Maver.
Yeah.
I'd say that's a fairly easy choice for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for Max tonight.
Yeah.
And as far as the rest of your vote, how it shook out, did you happen to watch the excellent Juice Media?
Yes.
How to use your vote?
That was great. So good.
What a bunch of heroes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and it was tricky. I mean, I thought I was in a different electorate because I've just moved and I hadn't changed it over. So it was a tough call because where have we moved to? Where did we move to?
We're in Morton.
Morton. So there was a strong independent as well that was in that there, and Labor, I think. And so I'd already done a lot of research on that, and then I rocked up and I was in a different electorate. So I was like, oh, I can go with Max. That's easy. But we were talking about how many people follow the how to vote card that you're handed by whoever you're looking at, and I pretty much went, yep, I hadn't done the research on the Greens there and just pretty much followed the card.
So you actually found the how to vote useful.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Nice one.
And I was umming and ahhing of does the Cannabis Party go second and then Labor, and how does that work, and da-da-da. So I did a quick scroll while I was in the little booth with my little pencil and was happy with that. So
remind me to talk about legalized cannabis, because we've got a particular hero on the map who I really need to call out a little bit later on. And
Right.
I think they could be an interesting outlier in this. Now, the other guests we've got on the couch at the moment, there are a few others that might be joining us soon, but really honoured to have back the co-founder of the Undercurrent Development. Jen Dana is with us, and let's just all admit that the Undercurrent was better with her involvement.
Not true.
And the
That's not
fact that
true.
she's
That's
here
not true.
is something I'm really pumped about. Jen's I don't even know which camera I'm looking at because I didn't have time to put my flashing lights on. Yeah, there you go. Hey everybody, how you doing? So Jen is a photographer,
Stay low,
a
back it up.
chemist. She's a
Back it up, back into the
see,
light,
back it
back
up.
into the
Oh,
light, back into the light, into the
Yeah.
light.
See, I was supposed to have a cool monitor that I'd be able to see, so I know what was
That's
going
all right,
on.
man.
We're just
And you tested it
know
on
what?
my height, and I'm like a good like head height shorter than
Thanks.
you.
You know
so
what?
yeah,
This
yeah.
is a safe space, and there's no
Yeah,
judgment here.
really.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. But Jen's an amazing photographer. She's a former. You got a chemistry degree or
Yeah, I
something
did
like
forensic
that?
science. Yeah.
Forensic
yeah.
science. She's been a fire scene investigator,
Yeah.
and she's an absolute weapon. Are you comfortable sharing your
Yeah,
vote?
yeah. So I'm in Moreton, and I looked at my independent, and I looked at what their chances were of winning, and it was pretty low. So I wanted to vote independent, but I actually thought, okay, well that's not going to work. I don't think so. I voted independent, and then I put my preference to Green, and then I put my preference to Labor, and it was really just about figuring out. You know, I think one of the things that people forget about preferential voting is that most times it's a really great way to use your vote in spite. So, for example, my dad numbers all 178,000 boxes in the Senate because he wants to put Fred and I last. This man is bonkers, and and like he doesn't necessarily have very strong political leanings either way. But for him, Fred and I is an affront to his humanity. So he wants to do that, So it's like you can actually use your vote to say who you don't want to get in as much as you can say you do want to get in. So all these people who go, oh, the Greens and Labor preference voting, it's like, no, people also wanted to put you last. Like they also made a decision to not just about who they wanted to be first, but also who they wanted to be last.
Well, shout out to your dad for being an absolute legend.
Yeah. No one likes Fred Nile.
Beautiful. I normally have the same approach, but I remembered that I had like this live broadcast thing. So I think I numbered in the below the line up to the point where I cared about who I was voting for, and then I went,
Yeah, whatever.
But anyway, we also have a couple of other legends in the room. Johnny Graetzy is over in the corner, and he's switching the cameras, and he's got some interesting little takes on Australian politics from an absolutely uninformed position, which is going to be wonderful. And then we've also
no
got,
offense, mate.
yeah. He does it in this really educational way, though, which is going to be great. Luke
There's
Harris.
No dumb questions.
No, there are dumb questions here. It's a safe space, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
Luke Harris, who is formerly of Hungry Beast fame. If there's anyone out there who remembers the politics show on the ABC, The Hungry Beast, Andrew Denson produced it. Luke was one of the key guys behind that. And he is going to appear later because right now he is frantically making sure that the Electoral Commission data is talking to this beautiful map. How you doing in there, Luke? You having a good time? Hey, buddy, come in and say hi.
Say hi quick.
Come and say hi. This is Luke. You stand in front of the TV because
Yeah.
it's just beautiful, and we want to say thank you for everything
Yeah, man,
you've done.
you're amazing.
And Luke's going to pop out later on and have a bit of a chat to us. But for now, do you reckon we can jump in and have a little look around?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to say I didn't actually know Luke had legs because I've just seen you at a computer
Behind the
for 5 days. So yeah, great.
Okay, so if we have a little look around, let me have a little look here. You might have to click in the screen and that'll give me the control. So there we are.
There we go.
So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grand Theft Parliament. It's similar to Grand Theft Auto, just with a little more theft and corruption. And what we've got here is we've actually, on the major networks, you would normally only see the two leading candidates. So you'd see whichever two parties were front runners in the race. Usually it would be Liberal and Labor, sadly. Sometimes you might see a National. Every now and then you might see an Independent. We weren't satisfied with that, so we went and found all 1,200 photos of the candidates, found the best quality version of it that we possibly could. Geez, I could tell you some stories on the various parties and their commitments to photojournalistic excellence. But we've got everybody mapped out here so that we can go to any electorate at any time and see the full spectrum of Australian politics, the rich tapestry of weirdness that Australia is, especially with the people that are willing to put their hands up to run for office. So why don't we just race straight in? Like I said before, I did want to, hey, I'll get the hang of this in a second. I did want to tell you a little bit about the legends from Legalised Cannabis who are running in this election. And if I can find the guy, here we go. So this is a beautiful little dichotomy here. So the cool thing is with the Australian Electoral Commission, people who register to be a candidate have to tell them what their profession is. And we've managed to put that into our database. So it means that you can see here, you've got everybody from someone who's a member of there we are. Someone who's a member of parliament. We've got a carpenter, we've got a gardener, an accountant. We've got, who have we got down here? A social worker. There's Helen Haynes. We're going to chat about Helen. She's a bit of a legend. But if you come over here, this is the representative for legalised cannabis in the seat of Indi, Ben Homan. And we want to give Ben a shout out because his official profile picture as a candidate is him standing next to a police officer at a music festival. I mean, were they enjoying the tunes together and hanging out? I don't think so. But the fact that he put that forward as his official representation, I think we need to give Ben
What I would like to also say is that I know that you deep etched all 1,200 of these photos. So the fact that you didn't deep etch out that police officer, you've actually, so that was also a decision on your part. So I'd like to formally congratulate you on that as well.
Thanks. Look, there might be a few more of those decisions that become evident throughout the night. If you do see any people who have what looks like a slightly awkward or less than toward photo, it's a good sign that I didn't like them or didn't like the party they came from. So a little bit of editorial license there. But another thing I just want to point out is how stacked some of these fields are. I mean, we're going to have a look later at some of the electorates that have up to 12 candidates running in it, which is insane. And the cool thing is that there are actually some viable people in that field. You know, the fact that the community independents have become such a force in Australian politics is something I think we want to get into a lot more. But do you want to, while I've got the controller in my hand like a nerd, is there an electorate you want me to fly to?
So the most marginal electorate in the country is Deakin in Victoria.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Hey, Luke, can we get do a little flyover to Deakin?
Yeah.
Got your handy little widget there.
So Deakin is in Victoria. It's currently held by the Liberal Party. The sitting member is Michael Sukkar, and it's held by a margin of 0.002. And there was a little bit, I think there was a little bit of redistribution that happened there as well. So that could possibly be why it's such a tight margin on that one. But it's been strongly targeted by all of the parties, basically all the major parties. So I'd be super interested to see what's sort of, once we get data starting to flow through, it'd be super interesting to see what's happening there.
Absolutely. So just to explain what we've got here, for each of our candidates, we've obviously got their details and their photos. And again, just an example of how ambitious this project was and how close we got to making our dreams come true. We just fell so tiny bit short. What we had planned to do was have these coloured cylinders behind them, which are what I refer to as their vote stiffies. So as the vote count comes in and those cylinders grow, that means that they're getting closer to the magic 50% that they need to win the seat. Sadly, linking that up to our data was a bridge too far, and possibly we should have known that before we embarked on it. But I guess what it just makes for is like a nice little phallic monolith in the background for each person.
And can I ask Dan, Anne Cook and Jess Ness, you didn't like their photos or what happened there?
No, surprisingly, there might be a few places where database issues have caused some missing links, but there are some people who just don't have a presence on the internet.
Okay, wow.
Which I think is kind of gangster that you would go run for parliament. No, I'll be sweet. I don't have any social media.
They know me.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah, once they see me at the shops, they'll be like, I'll vote for that person. So,
Totally.
I'll give them a free sausage.
But as you can see, this is the seat of Michael Sukkar. I don't follow a heap of Michael Sukkar's political moves. Do you have anything on
Look, I had a little bit of a dig into him when I saw that it was the most marginal seat, but not a huge amount. And look, the thing about Victoria, what a lot of the pundits are saying is that those sort of what they're calling the commuter belts in both Sydney and Melbourne are the ones that most of the major parties are really targeting, because if they swing one way or the other, they're the seats that are most at risk for both parties, and they're also the seats that are probably going to tip the election one way or the other for most people. So they're kind of the ones that we're most interested in looking at, like Gilmore, Menzies, Sturt in South Australia. They're kind of all of the ones in that, not in the immediate inner city, but in those belts around the cities are the ones that are the most important. So they're the ones that the Prime Minister has been, and Dutton have been flying into 400 times in the last 28 days. Yeah.
Which we'd love to know how they can afford to do that, or how many hospitals we could build for what it costs to do that.
But what's interesting about that, though, is that, like, you think about the Prime Minister or Dutton and how many electorates they've hit in the last 10 to 15 days or 30 days, but you think about the independents in those areas, they only have to be in their electorate. That's all they have to do. So they can spend all of their time campaigning in that electorate, whereas everyone else has to be all over the shop, right? So
that's an awesome point. So it's almost like by creating this duopoly where they've made it out to be almost like a presidential election, they've put the burden on their own shoulders
anyway.
to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
and sell themselves
Yeah.
around the
Totally.
country,
Yeah.
Totally.
which isn't really how the Westminster system's supposed to work, right?
Not at
Which I
all.
think it's interesting considering that so many voters actually don't like either of the major leaders for both parties, you know. So it's not like they're charming particularly or really, they're not charismatic. So it's not like, oh wow, he came to see us. That's so cool. Well, let's vote for Labor or Liberal, you know. So
Wow, Dutton came to see us. Let's vote for whoever else.
yes, yeah.
There's been quite a bit of chatter actually about some of those more marginal Liberal seats, especially the ones where the Teals won last time, where Dutton being there is actually negative. It's a negative press for them for Dutton to be there. They're like, the best thing that could happen for Albanese is for Dutton to visit the seat, you know, so it's really interesting, right?
Promising.
Maybe that's how he affords to fly everywhere, because Labor's footing the bill. Like,
Yeah.
please go. Yeah.
Oh yes,
Take it
spend
for a
days
final.
there.
I know the bus like went up on the footpath and got stuck. You saw that?
Oh, yeah, the Liberal bus
the
got-
Liberal bus.
I didn't see the bus. All I've been seeing all through my socials are those liberal billboard trucks getting stuck under overpasses.
Oh,
under the
no,
bridges.
no. The
At
campaign.
least 4. and there was
Right.
one where the people who were driving it got out and ran away so that they wouldn't get in trouble, and another where they started trying to rip the signage off the truck so that people wouldn't see that they'd incorrectly judged the height of the bridge and gotten their candidates
Funny,
stuck.
Great.
Google it now if you can. Quick
Yeah, yeah,
Google.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty.
Huh.
And there was another one where the Labor candidate, or actually no one knows it was Labor, I shouldn't suggest that, but one of the Liberal trucks had human feces smeared on both the signage and, wait for it, this is the gangster move, on the handles to the door to get into.
Oh, that's wrong. That's
so
wrong.
This is the benchmark for Australian
Okay,
politics.
okay.
Is what we're dealing with.
We're better than that, Australia. We're better than that.
You're really committing to the bit though because
Jeez.
you got to figure out how to smear the feces, right? Like you got to like.
Well, I
is
figured
it
they'd-
are you raw dogging it? Are you?
they-
Is it a
Like bare hands.
Yeah, like what's happening there?
I mean, I guess once you've done the candidate's face, you're like, but are they really going to get the message? Let's see what they're doing. Do you want to, before I go and check on our data connections and everything, I might let you take over for a little bit. Do you want to fly to somewhere like Sturt or Gilmore?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about
Let's
that.
have a quick look. So, the sort of the next most marginal seat in Australia.
It's
Well,
Sturt.
actually, let's go to Moore in
Gilmore.
WA because that's an independent at the moment, Ian Goodenough. So he's used to be Liberal and he's
Interesting
now,
story there.
isn't it? Yeah. So let's have a quick chat about that.
Okay. Was it Gilmore or Sturt? Sorry.
Moore. Oh, Moore. Yeah.
More.
Yeah.
Just straight up
WA.
MOORE.
R-E, yeah, Moore.
How you going there, Luke? Do you reckon we can go to Moore?
Now, Moore is held by a margin of less than 1%. It's a seat in Western Australia. It's kind of on the sort of southwest of Perth, I think. If we just have a quick look at that.
Oh, it's a long way,
Buddy.
WA.
Anyway,
We're on the
That's-
East Coast right now.
yeah,
I mean, WA politics in general, obviously we all feel fairly disconnected from that side of the country, but they are almost like a law unto themselves in many ways. And I think over here we probably underestimate the influence of the gas industry
Yeah.
and the resources sector in general. And we might kind of, if for the climate conscious amongst us, we might sort of write it off, but it actually does create a reasonable amount of jobs over there. So I guess people have.
It's massive. I work in theatre and I work in theatre in WA sometimes, and there's so much funding for even things like that come from mining. So if you, or it doesn't, if you speak out about it or do any of that sort of stuff, it's like, oh, well, you're not getting funded. So it's across a range of industries.
That's
Sport.
fascinating.
Sport, theatre,
Sport,
music, all of it. And it's interesting because I think there's this line between the resource sector doing a lot of good work and being able to provide jobs and stuff for Australia. But imagine if we had a sovereign wealth fund. Right. Imagine if we had a resource sector that created a sovereign wealth fund, we would be in a really different position now than what we are, because we just have profits,
Well, it would
Oh,
be
yeah,
up
that's
to the Australian public to decide where the money goes rather than the gas company who's not happy with the way you've spoken out about it.
Tina Reinhardt, yeah, exactly. But Moore's interesting. So Moore is currently an independent. So Goodenough, Ian Goodenough, I think his name is.
Yep, that's
Ian Goodenough. He's the current sitting member. He's been a Liberal Party member for a long time. He since 2013 he's held that seat. He had a swing of around 11% against him in the last election. And so the Liberal Party decided not to pre-select him for this seat this time, even though he's been the current sitting member since 2013. They've parachuted someone else in, a guy called Vince Connolly. He was the member for Stirling until that seat got killed at the last election. It got disbanded and redistributed into other places. So the Liberal Party have selected, ex-army officer and, previous MP Vince Connolly to run in that seat now. So it's going to be really interesting because does the current sitting member for the old Liberal Party, now independent, go up against in competition with Vince Connolly, who is the current Liberal Party member? So does he split that Conservative vote, causing someone else to fly into that? And so the odds, as I checked it a couple of days ago, were sort of in the coalition's favour. When I say odds, I'm talking about sports bet odds, and I'm not necessarily promoting gambling. But what's interesting is that often sports bet and those kind of people have a bit of a finger on the pulse. Not always, I must say, but they do sometimes. So I'm super curious about what the betting odds are saying, because I don't think the betting odds are taking into consideration electorates like this where the vote is potentially split, or in situations where the independent is untested. So you might have a situation, for example, in, where are we? So somewhere like Gilmore, for example, so Fiona Phillips is the sitting member. It's held on a margin of less than 0.2%. And there's a really, really strong independent candidate there. So what do the odds say about that? Well, they say that the coalition is probably going to win that, but there's no information about that around the independents. So I'm really curious to know how those odds perform and how they kind of, and what that does for the psyche of the country around the two-party preferred system. I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch tonight.
And the one that I was interested in as well is the potential protest vote from people who were pretty happy with Ian. I mean, he's been in there for a while. Yeah. And when you talk about the vote being split between Liberals, they're not guaranteed that those, no, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. If the vote does split, there's no guarantee that those preferences come back to them.
No, absolutely.
They go somewhere else. So.
Well, Goodenough has not preferenced the Liberal Party member.
Well, why would he? Because he's been dissed by them, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of loyalty, or it's like, why would you say, oh, here, if I don't get it, it's all yours.
It's yours, yeah.
And the crew from Redbridge, I heard saying the other day that it's really only the staunch major party supporters who follow how to vote cards. I think there's something like 70%, whereas the rest of the country is more like 30 or 40%. So you'd guess that some of the dyed-in-the-wool Liberal voters who did want to stick with Ian probably did follow his how to vote card. So it could be in a little bit of trouble.
And do people even know that that's what happened in the seat, right? Like I don't know who came second in my seat last year. No. Like I don't know who the main contender was. I couldn't even tell you. So, and if someone else kind of switched to a different party but was the sitting member, would I even be able to tell that if they had branding that was quite similar? So I don't know.
Yeah. And I think it's however many years since the last election. It's like so much has gone on. How much do we pay attention until it's time to pay attention?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to do a couple of little nerdy tech things that we ran out of time for. So can I fly you to another one of your super marginal electorates? And
do you want to go to Sturt? Yeah, let's have a
chat at
Sturt in South Australia. Yeah.
Are you game to take the controller of Destiny?
Thank you.
No way.
You just want to sit in front of it?
Absolutely.
You're going to let Luke drive?
Luke can drive, but we can also chat while you guys are doing that. That's fine.
We came fairly close to putting a non-lethal weapon system into this. And we also had a really beautiful photorealistic rendering of the House of
I did see that, actually. I did see that.
And the goal was to go around and just gently shoot some non-lethal sandbag rounds at the retiring members. You need to clear the seat for somebody else.
Move it.
Sadly,
and was there some kind of street sweeper that will come in and just like sweep them out as well?
Yeah, like a Zamboni. Takes them out the door.
Still loading.
Yeah, so we can have a chat about it in the meantime if you've got a bit of info. Yeah. But while that loads, I'm going to leave, just so in case you're tempted, because it is kind of fun.
Okay,
I don't even play the Xbox, but I could.
If you push down on the joysticks, you fly up and
hover.
It's like a drone.
There you go. You'll know how to do it.
Right into it.
Yeah. No worries. Absolutely not. But anyway, I don't know if anyone noticed, but Dan's wearing a T-shirt that says Fancy Nerd, and I think that's absolutely appropriate for what's happening tonight. So look, let's just have a really quick chat about Sturt. Now, Sturt is held by the Liberal Party at the moment. Sturt is in South Australia, and it's probably the seat that most of the election kind of pundits are saying that if that goes to Labor, then Labor will probably win the election. Like,
It's been Liberal since 1972.
is that right? Okay.
Since 1972.
Yeah, and it's held by a margin of 0.5% at the moment, and it's the most important seat in one of the two most important seats in South Australia, I should say. And possibly in the election. And so let me just give you a really quick profile of Sturt and why it's important. The average or the median age of voters in Sturt is 41. The 61% of people in the electorate are homeowners and 25% are renters. That's really interesting because that's one of the highest percentage of homeowners in the country. But interestingly, only 66% of people speak only English at home, and that's quite a low rate. So it's got a lot of homeowners, but it's also got a lot of people who are, who have a different background than just Anglo-Australian. And they've got a really, really low, compared to the rest of the country, a really low rate of how many doctors' visits are bulk billed. So only 69% of doctors' visits in that electorate are bulk billed. Where you go to some of these other electorates, like more in Western Australia that we were just talking about, and that's over 85%. So it's a really interesting scenario when you think about the fact that Labor has been talking about Medicare.
Yeah.
The Greens have been talking about putting dental into Medicare.
Yeah.
And Albanese's really been smashing Dutton on, if we can have submarines or we can have Medicare, but we can't have both.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that's going to be a really important electorate.
I also read somewhere that there's, of the 1,700 places that there are like GPs, like centres, someone had phoned up to try and get their first appointment to be bulk built as a new patient, and the number, like it was below 10 or something, that they could actually, someone could get an appointment even
As a
new patient.
Was that Australia-wide?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, wow,
I
okay.
read that today. I was like, what?
Of
course we've got a problem.
Yeah, that's really
like, of
bonkers.
course this needs to be addressed.
And I'm really curious about too is, and I'd love to know if anyone's watching on the live stream, like what has been the most important issue for you during the election? Like, we've heard about cost of living, we've heard about all of those things, but we haven't actually heard anything about climate this election. Like, I haven't seen a single candidate talk about or really like mention climate as an issue. So
I think there's, while I think for a lot of younger people, obviously it's always going to be there for them in terms of how they're voting. I think there are much more pressing issues on a really day-to-day, week-to-week kind of basis of paying your bills, finding somewhere to live if you're a renter, even trying to pay your mortgage. Like, there are things that are literally, how am I going to make it to the next week? So yes, I think people are still concerned, but I think most politicians know that it's the immediate kind of concern that they have to deal with and say what they're going to offer.
Do you think that, like, so for example, we know that a lot of the independents are coordinated or funded or supported at the very least by Climate 200. Do you think that people assume that that climate is at the top of that list and that it's everything else that's underneath that? So the Greens as a party, we understand that they are all about the environment. That's their provenance, that's their history. So they kind of already
it's taken
know.
As a given, right?
Yeah, so we take that as a given. So like, how much do you think that kind of really fed into the decision making for people this election, particularly young people?
Well, I think for young people, it's taken as a given that the LNP don't care about the climate. So I think without the LNP addressing it in any way, the assumption is you don't care about our future. You don't care about our future in terms of the environment or education or our health. There's so much where I think if you're not actually going to say what you are for, then people don't know. They're not going to guess it, right? So there's so much of the major parties that are, what am I against? We're against this. We're against this. We're against this. This is what this party's doing. It's like, for a lot of younger people, especially people who are voting for the first time, they want to know what you're for.
Yeah.
You know, and so Greens are really clear. It's very clear what they're for. I think with the independents as well, as you said, that they only have their own electorate to deal with. So it's pretty easy for them to put forward, this is what I'm going to do for you as your representative here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm.
Here we go.
Got some comments?
Yeah. Just a few.
Oh, and Luke the Legend's got the candidates back
Oh,
up.
for
Luke
Sturt.
the
Excellent.
Legend.
Oh, thank you.
They're back. We're back. We're
Check
back.
me just seamlessly cable wrangling in the middle of
Yeah,
a
yeah,
live
yeah,
podcast,
got it,
right?
got it, got
Totally
it. Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I got a tech question for you anyway, mate, so it's fine.
Yeah.
About mirroring or extending
Yeah,
the laptop.
yeah.
This is just a very professional outfit.
Mate,
Yeah.
This
I
is
feel like it's just people are
just
loving
the
it.
fact that I've chosen to move the cable behind the TV says that
That's amazing. Yeah, yeah.
I've commitment to quality.
And you didn't trip while you did it.
Quality.
Yeah.
quality, excellence.
I feel like you're doing that because every time we've worked together in the past, I've tripped over at least 14 cables.
I didn't even remember that. I was doing it because I thought I'd trip over.
Yeah.
What's the tech question? Can I help you with that?
Oh, I just didn't know whether you wanted me to.
I'd just do mirror as long as it's up to you what kind of privacy restrictions you've got on your
Zero.
own data. So
Zero.
if you want us to see your calendar and your bank, just go with
Zero and
Yeah.
zero.
Yeah, great.
I know the feeling. So we thank you so much, Luke the Legend, for bringing up the candidates of Sturt. Now that I'll admit I was running around a little bit there, so I didn't hear everything you were saying, but now that you can see the beautiful spectrum
Yes.
of the representatives of Sturt, any feelings on the chance? Oh, one thing I did want to point out was it's really interesting how mobilized Family First are. Like they have run candidates. I haven't got the actual number, but after my weeks of image processing, they're in almost every electorate. Like
Wow.
there's a,
No, no, explain to me and other people what Family First is about.
oh no, that's going to delve into some dark places. No, so they did start in South Australia from a guy called Andrew Evans, who's sort of in the Hillsongy Pentecostal end of things. And, you know, with good intentions initially, certainly aligned on the right of the spectrum. They never really had any success. I think they might have gotten, Andrew himself might have gotten elected to the South Australian Senate potentially at one point, but I don't think they ever got a House of Reps member up federally or anywhere else.
Yep.
It seems as though they've had a nice little hiatus and been brought back to life by our friend Lyle Shelton from the Australian Christian Lobby.
Yep.
So
Lyle.
yeah, thanks for that, Lyle. I mean, you know, I don't want to bag them out because there'd be some reasonably good
People.
family-oriented people who are running for it for a lot of good reasons. There's a whole lot of stuff wrapped up in their policy platform that I strongly disagree with. But I just think it's interesting that someone like that is able to field candidates so broadly without a giant slush fund of mining revenue behind them. In the case of,
I wonder where that money comes from. Do you think it's coming from Pentecostal sources?
Yeah, I was going to say there could be a giant amount of money behind them still.
It's quite possible.
Yeah.
I mean, they certainly, that's a feature of the faith community, especially in that particular part of the faith community. They are quite good at raising money. I'm just trying to say this all diplomatically.
Yeah.
They're quite good at raising money.
Yeah.
So if they've got a cause they believe
Such a
in,
cause they believe in, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's fair enough.
and they are people who give a lot of their time, give a lot of their money.
Totally.
If they think that those people are worth trying to promote towards representation in Parliament, they would quite reasonably put money towards it. So I think it's just interesting to know that that's been a force that has sort of re-emerged in Australian politics at a time when electorates are splintering.
I'm super interested to understand how that impacts the Conservative vote, right? Because if you're an active church member and you are strongly encouraged to vote a certain way, where you might ordinarily have voted for a Conservative candidate, like how does that split your vote, or how does that cause any kind of, you know, internal conflict for people? I'm really interested in that, in understanding that.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, I had a bit of a background in that end of things, not so much anymore, but I know that the people that I grew up with, many of them are by default a Liberal voter. That's where they would naturally gravitate to. And it's mostly about the family values stuff. You know, we can call it other things. Obviously, they've got strong views on abortion and same-sex marriage and things like that I don't agree with. But that's always been their default. So again, it's super interesting that someone like Family First can come out of that community where it sort of indicates to me, and this is anecdotal hearsay at the best, but that...
Welcome to the undercurrent.
Yeah, that's right. Research-backed truth and honesty.
Hearsay.
are willing to forego that default. You know, they feel strongly enough, or they
Yeah.
feel potentially disappointed enough with the Liberal Party
Yeah.
that they're willing to
Put
put their
themselves
weight
first.
behind another
candidate.
another group.
And potentially split that vote. It's sort of the same thing that's happening in some of the Brisbane suburbs, electorates rather, where people, you know, where that sort of more progressive vote is split between Greens and Labor. You know,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
that's the way that the Liberal Party is targeting those things. Is like, you know, if they can split that vote, they've got a better chance of winning, I guess. So,
Yeah, and again on the preferences thing, you know, what's the mindset of the voter? Do they feel like, okay, I've voted for my family first person,
Now
I'm going to do some other preferences, I'm not
yeah.
going to worry about the Liberals?
Yeah.
Or do they just naturally put the Liberals
Is it
second? just feel
naturally
like
second?
the job's
Yeah.
done?
And so therefore the vote is not split because it
Yeah.
goes there anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like, is that not an issue at all?
Now, Verity Cooper, I believe, is a community independent. I don't quote me on that because I've been a little bit lax on my research with some of the later ones, but I believe she does have a sizable
Independent,
community group behind her.
Yeah.
Does it say whether she's a Climate 200 backed?
I think she is, yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sure. So,
But she's had a family business, a brewery business for 6 generations. So if she runs a good pub, if there's been a good pub in the family for 6 generations, you could have a lot of support behind
that's a
her.
solid link.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth noting that Climate 200 generally require, before they back a candidate, a pretty solid community backing
Yeah.
before they even get into it. So yeah, it could be interesting to see what Verity can do there. I mean, I'd love to pretty soon get into some of these community independent candidates, particularly some of the ones that are sleepers that people aren't paying a lot of attention to that could really...
She's run a really strong campaign too, from what I've read.
And she's a GP.
So many GP
Right.
independents. It's a common theme.
Yeah.
There's a new one out in Western Australia that we'll talk about later. Obviously, you've got Sophie Scomps as a good example, Monique Ryan.
Monique
Yep.
Ryan, yeah. What's really interesting as well is that what I heard something earlier this week, which just I was like, yes, but you know that all of the kind of Liberal Party pundits who've been talking about, you know, all those inner city seats like the North Shore in Sydney that got handed over to the Teals, and they talk about it as the electorate of the doctors' wives, and it's like there are more Australian medical graduates that are women in this country than men, and also all these independents are female doctors. So it's really interesting. Like it's even a lack of fundamental understanding of what actually makes up your electorate. So it's I find that, you know,
And a beautiful way of just cheesing them off. Let's just slag you off and grossly generalise you. That's a way of maybe trying to get you to vote for us.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
Yeah.
We'll be
Wait,
misogynist.
could we talk about this? Yeah.
The other interesting one, and this probably isn't the perfect example to point it out with, but I've in my 1,200 photos that I've gone through, found an overwhelming sense that the most diverse, most multicultural political party being represented at this year's election is One Nation.
Wow, really?
You
Seriously?
you would not believe the number of candidates with very not Anglo-Saxon surnames. Peter Bogatek here, if I had to guess, he'd be somewhere from the Baltic states potentially.
Possibly.
I'm not going to make any guesses based on the photo, but I can show you a bunch of other One Nation candidates who are absolutely not Anglo-Saxons. And it's just fascinating to me that the party that is most known for not liking people from other countries seems to have attracted a hell of a lot of candidates from other countries.
Yeah, you're right.
I think he's from Australia because he joined the Royal Australian Navy when he was 16. So, but a background, I don't know where his background is, but yeah.
And now, Jen, you are connected. I just got you connected up to Johnny's kick-ass vision switch over there. So if you feel like there's something worthy of being shared,
Yeah, I'll let you know.
you know, Liberal trucks being stuck under bridges.
I did want to share the saltwater crocodile that had picked the winner. You know how they have that like octopus that picks the World Cup winner. Well, yeah, the saltwater crocodile. But we can talk about that later.
Oh, you've looked out there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Luke, are we able to? Did you want to do another one of your swing electorates while we're waiting for some results to come in?
Yeah, let's do it.
It was
Gilmore?
Yeah, Gilmore.
Yeah,
Go to Gilmore. Thanks, Luke. How's everybody doing?
I'm good.
Why don't we do a couple of questions? I'm going to steal this for a second.
Yeah,
See what
do
we've
it.
got here. All right. So, first votes are in for Bean. We need to
Gilmore
check
is.
that out.
Luke said, "Where's Gilmore electorate?"
Oh, Gilmore. Sorry, I'm with you now.
New South
Gilmore is in New
Wales.
South Wales. So Gilmore is held by the ALP at the moment on a margin of 0.17%. Its median age is slightly older than many of the other electorates. Its median age is 49. It is has a relatively high proportion of home ownership, around 55%. But it's got a very high English only as a a language, English being the only language spoken at home, around about 88%. It's on the central coast of New South Wales, so that central coast of New South Wales is about an hour and a half sort of north of Sydney. So you take the highway up and you kind of hit the central coast. Andrew Constance is the New South Wales state member who's trying to win the election against the incumbent. So he's tried that in the last election and he's trying again this time. So yeah, that'll be super interesting to see what happens there. So the current sitting member is Fiona Phillips and she's an ALP member. Who's the independent there actually? The independent is...
Kate.
Oh, Kate, it is
Kate
true.
Desonalds, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the community independent there. I'm just going to have a really quick look. Have you ever spent much time on the Central Coast? Are you familiar with
Is that where Emerald, is that Sapphire Beach?
No, that's
No,
the
it's
South Coast.
further up.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Okay, cool. Good chat.
Good chat. As you were. Time to get a cup of tea, have a wee break.
Yeah, have a wee break. Okay, candidates. Let's have a quick look. So, Gilmore,
I just lost the page I was on. That's why I
Ringer,
couldn't help you there.
Wentworth,
Jumped to Canada.
Votechella. Sorry, I'm just on the... So if you want to check this out, the website is called communityindependenceproject.org. Communityindependence, plural.org is the website for the Climate 200 backed independence. So as Dan was saying before, if you want to be sort of involved in that project, you have to have very strong community support already. And you'll find that most of these candidates have been building their support for, some of them up to 15 years. So it's a really powerful way of getting, getting support from the community.
And it looks like Kate's done a lot of work with a number of different cultural organisations, not-for-profits, social ventures. So she's been co-chair of Flexible Workspace Australia. She's got the Chamber of Commerce, on the Arts Board, Director of Underbelly Arts. So yeah, she's a tourism board, so she's across a whole range of different things within the community.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. What you also find with a lot of these independents is like whenever you see images of them, they're not like a politician visiting, shaking a baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like
they are surrounded by their community.
It's so interesting, isn't it?
And not like a fish out of water, like, oh, this is where I live, this is where I've raised my kids, or this is where I work, this is what I do, I know this place. Rather than, I'm a politician and I live in a completely different world to everybody else who pays bills and is trying to find somewhere to live, or any of that sort of stuff. So
and what's interesting as well about community independence is because they're not bound by the party, they don't have to vote by party lines. But what they often do, they don't have to, but what they often do is form a compact with their community. So what that means is that the community gets together, decides and votes on what the top 10, 20 issues are, and then the MP agrees to represent their community on those issues. So they then also usually report back to their community on how they've gone against them. So they're measured, but with an independent review on how they've actually gone against those 10 to 15 top top issues for their community,
which really makes them a representative. And if you're going to be in the House of Representatives, it's like, if you know what your community wants, if you go, yes, okay, I'm prepared to go and speak to that, I will be an advocate, not I have my own idea of, or ego of what I think is important. It's, it makes such a difference to be able to go, oh, you are actually representing us and what's important to us.
But also too, that thing of like, how in the House of Reps and in the Senate, it's sometimes they'll have a conscience vote. So, things like same-sex marriage or other issues where people are allowed or not allowed to have a conscience vote, the party decides whether you're allowed to have a conscience vote on that or not. So if you wanted to, say, vote for same-sex marriage and you were in a party that didn't support that, you were not allowed to vote.
You'd have to cross the floor.
You have to cross the floor for that. So for independents, that's not even an issue, which is the reason why before I was talking about the fact that a minority government, in my opinion, would actually be the best outcome, because it wouldn't matter if anyone was held to party lines on those issues. The independents would essentially have the control of power.
And I really like the idea of a minority government, because it also means that, farmers are going to be represented by somebody who is actually able to say something and stop something, or really advocate for something, and get a really weighty kind of conversation going there.
Yeah.
You know, I think things that don't necessarily affect me doesn't mean that I don't want somebody else to be able to talk to that in Parliament, and to be
Yeah.
able to go, this is really important to me. You know, so
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, totally. And so, I guess one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about, can you tell me what your give me off the top of your head the top 3 political ads that you've seen this election
I have
or
been,
heard?
okay, I have been bombarded in my text messages by a trumpet of patriots every single day. I will have had at least 6 or 7 in the last 3 days, messages from them.
What are the messages mostly about?
Just annoying. I can't even tell you. They were it's about what they're against, which again drives me nuts. I don't care what you're against. What are you for? What are you for? What are you standing for? So that's been the number one annoying thing.
Yeah.
Top ads. The Labor's ad, billboard wise, which is against Dutton, but if he cuts, you pay.
Mhm.
That's been a pretty effective, I think, campaign that Labor have won without saying anything much. That kind of said a lot. And what else have I seen? That's been effective. I mean, I wouldn't say the trumpet. I've seen the trumpet for patriots everywhere. Like the amount of money that Clive Palmer has put into this after last election, throwing, I can't even remember, 123, 132 million dollars, and did they get one seat? No seats. No
yeah.
seats. So to go at it again, and and where those billboards have been, like they've been in seats where there's no chance that candidate is going to get in.
But the thing is, you only
so
have to
bizarre.
win a certain percentage of the vote in each seat in order to receive funding for the next election, right? So I think you've got to get 5% of the vote in order to qualify for a grant. Like I don't know what exactly the language is, but you've got to win 5% of the vote in order to qualify for funding for the next election. So if they win a certain amount of funding, if they win a certain amount of votes, they get funded for the next time. Yeah, yeah.
I reckon you should get Johnny Graetzy sitting in the middle there.
Great.
He's got a fantastic
Excellent
reality check for average Australians exposure.
Great.
I'm not calling you average, Jono.
Get in here.
Below average. Oh no, sorry, above
amongst
average.
it.
Yeah. I'm gonna look at my computer screen as well. Yeah. No.
Yeah, so
what have you got? What have you got?
Who have you seen, heard from? Like, what's been your top 1 or 2 political ads that you've been exposed to?
Well, let me just start by saying I'm completely detached from the political system, so all I'm going with is vibes.
Vibes.
So we've got a generalized vibe that Peter Dutton is bad. Apparently he's going to cut Medicare, but then there's the good ads about him, and apparently he's going to do some things with housing. So I mean, the ads come up. They've got the black, the black and white photos of them, and so obviously this is an ad from, I'm assuming, then Labor who's making that ad.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones of him, in glowing, nice looking areas. He's got his glasses on, which makes him look less like Voldemort. You assume that that's, a pro thing. So as soon as I see that, I just kind of switch off.
Yeah.
It's just, who do you believe
in? And how do you make the decision about who you're going to vote for then? Like, what's the, is there an issue that you're kind of thinking about?
Just ask my brother.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's but not everyone's got a Dan in their back pocket who is consuming media like a human centipede of political discourse.
Oi!
Hey,
that's
that's
fair enough.
nerd. You got on the shirt. Fancy nerd.
I mean, bit of a joke about getting info from Dan, although I do.
You do. You would. I would too if I.
I mean, I always just enjoy the Greens. It's probably that thing of, there's only the 2 major parties. It would be great to see, some other representation. And the Greens typically, again, it's probably feel over fact.
Yeah.
But you feel like they're more connected to the local community. they're probably a bit left-leaning, and that's probably how I lean politically.
Yeah.
So when all the people are there at the voting booth with their how to vote cards, just look for the green one, grab
Yeah,
that,
right,
and
okay.
put in what they say.
And do you follow the how to vote card? Is that something that you look at, or do you
Typically, but
mostly?
then I'd say this election, it was even with the Greens with their preferences of where to vote. It after the first two or three, it's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I don't-
Yeah.
But again, who do you put last, right? It's like, who do you put last to
and
make
who do you
sure? So
put- who do
yeah.
you put just above that
Yeah,
last?
yeah,
Because,
yeah,
God,
yeah,
then
yeah.
there's, oh.
Yeah, who do I hate more? And you're like, well, I hate you both equally, but I've got to put one above the other.
Yeah, so it's a bit. I'm sort of hoping that I think we had an off-air chat where minority government gets in, and so there's more decisions that have to come or be run by the independents. Yeah, we should probably touch a lot more on.
Yeah, but that to me would be the best outcome. But I don't know. I don't know if many people. I certainly didn't before. The last couple of years. But what a minority government actually involves and what it means. Like what's your understanding of what a minority government is? Do you think?
Okay, well, just shooting from the hip here.
Totally.
Right. We love it.
It
Yeah.
seems like it would be they don't have enough members to just put through policy.
Form government, yeah.
Therefore, they've got to go across the aisle. They've got to, but they kind of both the two major parties have the same problem in that they neither have the amount to push something through. Therefore, they have to find independents to make those swing votes happen. I think that might be
That's pretty
And
close,
then and then what can happen is an independent can say, well, I'll side with you on this particular issue if you support me in this other thing that I'm trying to. So there's a bartering kind of thing that happens as a part of that as well.
Yeah, and that probably might be chaotic in some senses, but in another way maybe makes it a bit fairer, just because then it's not just being dictated to what that major political party has at the time.
Yeah, it's not just one agenda, right? So yeah, exactly. I think that's really interesting, and I'm also curious about when during the election cycle did you start paying attention? Like, did you notice anything? Like the election got called before the cyclone, so it's like just after the cyclone, so it would have been 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
At what point during the election cycle do you even know there's an election, and then do you start paying attention?
Right.
Today.
I mean, and if you weren't Dan's brother, it's hard, right? Because you probably would have heard a lot about it because he's been
I
thinking
did
about it.
actually have to Google who is our current Prime Minister a few months ago, and it turns out it's Anthony Albanese.
Oh, nice work.
Yep.
Yeah, so
I think a lot of
Finger on the
people-
pulse.
I think a lot of people can relate to you. Like
yeah.
I'm not. I think it's really fair.
Well, the first I saw them was watching the sport. So I was watching rugby league, and that's when the ads started to come.
Right. Okay.
And that's when I started to get my first impression of okay,
Right.
yeah.
And do you and your mates have you talked about voting or politics, or is that a conversation that you have, or it's not at all? Yeah.
I mean, as mostly gaming friends, and hello to the few who might be watching this. Yeah, we tend to not talk about politics, or if we do, it's not in any rigorous manner.
And do you feel that's because it doesn't, like, what's going on in Australia at the moment doesn't affect you in terms of housing crisis, cost of living, or any of
this is the thing,
Medicare?
It does affect us, but like cost of living, purchasing houses, but it's always seems like it's this, like the politics is this nefarious other thing, and we can't affect it in any meaningful way, so let's just ignore it and hope that the adults take care of it.
That's so funny that you feel
adults,
like you
right?
you can't impact it. And do you feel like you can't impact it because it is Labor or Liberal?
Yes.
And
Which is why I chuck in the Green vote, because it's like, yeah, let's add a third thing to that.
Which is interesting, because what seat did you say that was 376 or something votes, and there were more people
God,
who
what
had
was it?
more people who had put in a donkey vote.
What was the seat? I can't remember. I'll Google it.
Yeah,
So there's one seat that's, I think it's the one that's held on the most thinnest of margins. What is it? I'm pretty sure it's Gilmore, possibly. I'll double check it in a second. But the person who won that seat won by 374 votes, and over 6,000 people in that electorate did an invalid vote. So if even half of those people had put in a valid vote and they were they wanted a different candidate than who got elected, then a different result would have happened.
So
does
so
actually
every vote
count.
counts,
Every
right?
So
vote counts.
literally every vote counts, and I think people forget about that, especially in seats where it's like it's a 20% margin to Labor, or one of those things. It's like my vote is never going to make a difference, but actually in some of those really key seats, it certainly
Really
does.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have that somehow highlighted in some way because the feeling is that it doesn't count
Yeah.
what we do for voting. Seeing something like that where it actually does count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a random question. Have you ever protested for anything? Marched or rallied or protested?
I mean, I had a sign with peace and love written on it, and I walked around the city one day because I was a bit fed up with how
Just
things
by
were.
yourself?
Yeah, just by myself.
Sorry,
great.
It's
sorry.
a one man band here.
That's great.
Is that a free hugs kind of situation?
A
or-
little bit, yeah. It's
Were
just
you
like,
lonely?
There's a lot of bad things in the world,
Yeah,
so this is just my thing of reminding
pretty cute.
people, like,
Yeah.
That's great.
hey, we're not at war.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, we can smile and look each other in the eye, and
That's amazing.
try to get back to that. So that's been my
Yeah,
only
yeah.
thing. Nothing formal.
Well, that actually just reminded me of a billboard that's near us, which is said something like, "Your vote counts. Vote for Palestine." So like who like what are the things that we can do that we're considering? Again, not just us, even here in Australia. We obviously have overseas kind of policies that affect people overseas, and what are we doing to whether we're voting with our pencils on a little square box, or
Yeah.
do we vote with our feet, or do we vote with the conversations that we have with our friends or family members, or that kind of stuff. I think every conversation counts as well. So if you and your mates aren't having conversations, then it's kind of like you wouldn't have a sense of agency, I don't imagine.
Doesn't feel that, but of course, when you highlight a case like where actually votes
Really
do
does.
matter, then I think that I'd probably come at this maybe in future elections.
Yeah.
Talking to you, future Johnny. I'm sure you do some research. Actually, look into people
Before the day.
Before the day.
But it's not. But actually, what's really interesting is you only have to look at your electorate. Like people think they've got to be across the political spectrum, and they don't. You just got to be like, who are the 5 to 10 candidates in my area? What are the 3 most important things I care about, and who has the most? Who aligns with those most? And it's a great tool, the Vote Compass. So ABC has this amazing tool called Vote Compass, which you can log on. You can talk about, you fill out a bit of information about who you are and what's important to you, and then it tells you the party that you're most aligned to. And it does it per electorate. So it takes the independents in your area, and it says, okay, well, these are the policies that they stand for. This is all the information that we have on all these candidates. Okay, you are in Moreton, and your vote most aligns with the independent. Vote the independent, and it's second aligned with the Greens. And you can download your own how to vote card from that. It's amazing. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Thanks, ABC.
Now you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is amazing as a treasure trove of data for the ABC then in future about what their audience is looking at.
Jen, how did you get into having a more in-depth look at politics?
I'm a redhead, so I'm fueled with rage. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning, and so I think I'm really similar to you in that I have for a really long time just felt like my vote doesn't count. I've lived in pretty safe Labor seats all my life, and the seat that I grew up in Sydney, I grew up in a very very sort of used to be Labor and is now very strongly Liberal. I kind of just felt like, well, it doesn't really matter what I do. I'm never going to change the majority of the people that I live around. I'm never going to be able to change their mind. But when some of the independents started winning in terms of Brisbane, and some of the Greens candidates started winning or getting close, you're just like, oh, that was actually really close. Like we can genuinely make a difference here.
And where we live, it's called it's Greensland. So because there's 3 Greens members that are all next to each other in a Brisbane.
In a sea of Liberal.
Yeah.
In just a sea of blue, the whole rest of the state,
Why do you think it's isolated to that area?
Inner city, I think. I don't know. Well, it would be. I think people are not necessarily more aware, but more conscious of other people. It's not just that I'm just voting and my vote is for me. It's all about what's best for me. I think in general we're in more left-leaning kind of suburbs, I suppose. Yeah, and
But
I don't know
I
why in
wonder
Queensland,
why
like in
someone
Queen
like
and Queensland
yeah.
particularly as well,
Yeah.
because we've been considered the redneck state for such a long time, and I think that
Yeah.
was left over from Joh Bjelke-Petersen kind of era.
Mm.
But yeah, it's been such a slow and steady move with the Greens of just, I think, taking away what were traditional
thing
Labor
goes
voters
green
maybe
there,
as
so you
well.
can
So
kind of
certainly
shift
not
that.
Liberal or National voters. Not sure.
Mm.
It's just that it's not processing it properly.
There's
So
a
I'm just
fly
getting-
that's
well,
I know, it's driving me
Where's
nuts.
that fly swatter
It's
at?
a-
Oh, there was a fly.
You know
We're
what,
not
it's
going
right
to use
here.
it. Non-violence.
A fly swatter of democracy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll-
It's here.
I'll
It
get
is
that for some-
definitely.
It
no,
is.
It is.
It's pinging around.
No animals harmed in the making of this shoe fly.
So who would you like to see if you had a magic wand and you can now just have the outcome happen how
Yeah.
you want it to happen? How would that look?
Oh, you know what? I'd like a third independence, a third Labor and a third Liberal. I would like, because I feel like when you're a staunch voter one way or the other, people have a tendency to go, let's get this particular party out. Like if you're really staunch Liberal, you're like, I don't want to see any Labor. But actually, you need that balance because Australia is made up of a variety of opinions, and you need that balance, right? So there's farmers who believe in the Albanese government has banned live sheep exports, which I happen to personally agree with, but actually there's quite a lot of towns that rely on live sheep exports. So they're voting for their candidates that have that run a program that's designed to fight that legislation. And it's really important to them as a town. And I think that we need a balance of opinions in this country to make sure that we move forward together as a nation so that we don't end up like America. So I think a really good balance across the House of Representatives and the Senate is I think is crucial to democracy in Australia.
And what's
Preach!
and what's tricky as well is that I mean, in my brain, I have often gone, oh, independence. They're going to be independent, like me, like a bit left-leaning, but there's also very conservative independents as well, right?
A lot of those Teals would have been considered ex-Liberal
or
voters.
even national.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just because someone's independent doesn't mean obviously that they're left-leaning or aligned with the younger vote or any of those things. I'd be interested to know how many independents are under a certain age, like under 40 or
Yeah,
I don't know
right.
what that stat is. But
So do they then just make up their mind? Or
yeah,
like-
I want to be a politician. I'm sick of everything that everyone else is doing. I'm going to stand and I'm going to start.
Are we
Little
are
Peter
we seeing
Rabbit.
this?
Can I flick it?
Mm-hmm. Did you get it?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna have to- no,
This
close
fly
up
is
on
getting
fly.
the most action on this
Yeah,
live
yeah.
stream.
But yeah, so like if you're jack of all the major parties, if no one in your particular area feels like no one's representing you, you can actually, if you want to, nominate yourself to stand for election.
So would you have to put out kind of like an idea of what if a vote came down, like a policy was put forward? Like
I don't know how many things you need to be able to say you're running with, or like I mean, I didn't see any policies from the two major parties in
didn't
this.
you?
No, like it was all like we're just it was
That's
just
interesting.
sentences. There was just sentences without any depth to what the actual policies were.
Yeah, right.
So the moment I switched off politics in my own life was growing up. I used to watch the Parliament time, right? Where they
Did you?
yeah.
So the nerd runs in the family, is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
probably more.
Who hurt you?
Hey!
Hey!
Who hurt you, Johnny?
Yeah, that's
Entertainment,
right.
yeah.
So and so I'm 12 years old maybe.
Oh, because it was on at about 3 o'clock before the cartoons came
that's
on.
It. So
Yeah.
I'm watching, and it was entertaining because
Uh-huh.
you've got these adults, and they're just and they're yelling at another adult,
Behaving
and
like
they're-
children.
and the jeers and the clapping, and even at that age, just like so that's our
Politics,
politics.
yeah.
That's what politics is. Yeah.
There's no like coming together to be like, hey, what's like a 20-year policy that's going to see Australians like improve the aggregate.
You're
Right.
actually deeply political. You're just very jaded with the process,
Maybe
right?
that's it. And then,
Yeah.
and then okay, well, I'll switch off now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you're actually representative of a lot of people because I think a lot of people really genuinely care about what happens to the people around them, to their community, to the country, to the environment, but they're just like, again, my vote doesn't count, and these people are all children cosplaying as adults. So I have to be more responsible in my own life than you have to be in Parliament. So why would I listen to you? You know?
That's it.
Yeah.
It would be so refreshing to have a major party come forward and be like, you know what, this campaign, here's a 12-year plan.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be novel? Like, you know, and we're actually going to try to work with the people across the aisle from us, because dare I bring up the American system, you see how combative and divisive it is when you are just trying to vote on party lines without putting the government's meant to represent the people. It's suddenly it's not about that. It's about winning points. It
Totally.
just seems so not conducive to a happy society.
Absolutely. And so just a quick update, about 4.9% of the vote has been counted. There are, and as a reminder, either party needs 76 seats to win. So a lot of people have been tipping that the ALP will win 74 and they'll need another 2 to form a minority government. So the update at the moment is the ALP has 29 seats, the LNP has 26 seats, the Greens have none, and other parties, so independents have 6. This is in House of Representatives. So we'll give you a bit more information on that, but that's basically the update for now.
How many independents have there been last year?
There was 6 in lower house, and 1 in the upper house. So there was a Senator David Pocock in the ACT who's an independent, and there were 6. Is it 6, Dan? 6 in the lower house, I think.
What's that? Sorry.
6 independents in the lower house.
Oh, there was 9, I think.
Oh, 9. Okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so quite a few actually. Yeah, yep.
You know what? I'm gonna go get this fly swatter.
Do it. It's you know what? It's
landing
I
on
know.
my
palladiums. It's literally right there,
I'm not a killer of flies.
bro. That's right.
No,
Come over here, darling.
no,
You can.
no.
I mean, I can try to catch and
It's
release.
the
Yeah, catch and release.
the fly spotter of democracy.
This is the thing. I was just gonna smash it. But
No,
if
you
you're-
just
if you're a-
I'm a non. I don't even kill mosquitoes.
So I'll now.
This is why the animal party was
Wait,
important.
You don't kill mosquitoes?
No.
I think even the Dalai Lama kills
Well,
mosquitoes.
it's a really I just tell them to go away very aggressively.
I murder mosquitoes like my life depends on it. So that's okay. We've got.
How do you both? Yeah.
How do we live together?
Yeah, I get really upset. Is what happens especially when there's a fly in the bedroom late at night, and Jen loses her
Turns into a
redhead
psychopath.
shit. Is what happens.
So this is my
Oh, look!
business.
I love what you're doing there.
Okay.
Nice work, Jenny. Yeah.
Right, so we'll
Catch her.
and
I
then
want to see
Is
how
this going
fast
to
she
be
is.
like the fly that decides the election? Like, is
Oh
it
yeah,
gonna
and then it's
Oh,
Schrodinger's fly.
let's see which one goes.
That's what it is. Is the fly dead or alive? We don't know. So is the major party? Oh, we needed that to be blue.
But that's just
it.
conforming to the two-party system.
Yeah. I want to know what's happening in Dixon.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Anything? Anyone?
Don't know. Let's have a look. I feel like there might be some data issues happening with our live stream at the moment.
I can hear some very strong keyboard
I
action
can hear
in the other
some
room.
furious keyboarding. Yeah. So I think we can have a quick look at that.
In no way did this
Wanna put up
production
something
get organised in the last minute. This is the very.
I think it was
No, it's totally fine.
3 days ago, was it? No, a week ago. I don't know. No,
Okay.
have you got any Dixon
Well,
information
can
there?
I just give you one other interesting statistic?
please.
So when in the previous kind of two-party preferred kind of worldview of things, if there was a swing away from one party, usually that means there's a swing towards the other major party. So a 2.4% swing against Labor, also a 3.3% swing away from the coalition.
That's the whole point.
2.5% swing towards One Nation, and a 5% swing towards other candidates. So 5% swing towards independents. So 3.3 plus 2.4 equals what? 5.9?
I wasn't listening at the beginning of the sentence, so
I cheated at homeschool.
So 3.3 plus 2.4 is 4.5.7.
I'm still not listening properly. I'm still looking at something. Good, excellent. 5.7. I think.
Okay, so there's been a 2.4% swing against Labor and a 3.3 swing against the coalition,
Now I know what you're saying.
but a 5% swing towards independents.
Where?
Across
Overall.
Australia.
Oh,
across Australia.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm super interested to understand if that swing is is the young voters.
Yeah.
You know, and they call it a swing, but actually it's just people coming online to vote. So it's not
the first
necessarily
time,
a swing, it's how people believe, right? I get really frustrated by the concept of a swing because it's like, well, you went one way and now you're going the other way. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you haven't swung. You've just decided that someone deserves your vote or not, you know? So anyway.
Australians aren't swingers.
It'd be interesting to know, like, what the majority of 18-year-olds have for their preferred party, whether they vote along their parents, you know, what they do, and their other people around them, or whether they.
And also, at what point do you go from voting how your parents vote to becoming more? I can have a say. I can go against or vote something different, you know, than what my parents did.
I'm going to give you some really good news.
Yes.
There's been a 10% swing against Peter Dutton in Dixon.
To Labor or to
And
the
the
Independent?
ALP is ahead
Okay.
by
So
one.
Ailey.
Yeah, so Ali France,
Mhm.
she has 32.7% of the vote so far,
Dixon.
and Dutton has 31.3% of the vote. Are you hearing that, Dan?
Say it again.
Dutton has a 10% swing against him
Oof.
in Dixon,
Oof.
and Labor has a 1% swing towards her. So Dutton has minus a 10% swing against him.
How's Ali France? How's Ellie Smith?
Ellie Smith has got a 13% swing towards her,
That's
but she's
cool.
she has a 13% swing towards her, but she only has 13% of the vote.
Okay.
She won't win it, but her preferences,
will go to
probably flow
Labor.
to Labor.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I think so. I'll check that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
So Labor and pre-polling favours Conservative voters.
That's true.
So
So where in the count are they at the moment? Are they mostly on pre-polls?
yeah, I don't know actually.
vote?
Yeah,
6.1% are counted in Dixon.
yeah.
So 5.1% swing to ALP at the moment. Yeah.
So 10 of 41 senators are reporting primaries, and 2 of 41 are reporting a preference count. So 2 of 41 are also onto the second round, and 10 are still on the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you what, folks, you just got to use your imaginations to imagine how cool this would have been. Like, I mean, look how nice it is.
It's great.
If all this dynamic things were happening, it would have been pretty cool. But at very least, we've got some faces.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
These are more faces than you would otherwise see. And check this out. Look, check out. Have I got my control here?
Yeah,
Check out
yeah.
Maureen.
Holding the baby. Is that her baby? Is that her grandchild?
She's not just.
It's a grandchild of some kind.
She's not just kissing the baby; she's holding the baby.
That's right. But
Does she know the baby?
a retired mum has put her hand up to run for Australian politics. I think that's pretty cool. A
Yeah.
retired grandmother.
Great. Yeah, I was going to say grandma. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Ellie Smith. Apologies for our names here being cut off on the bottom there. She's an environmental something. That's very important. But worth knowing that. Voices of Dixon, I'm pretty sure, or is it Dixon Votes? There was a couple of groups, but there was one that really sort of was the driving force behind Ellie. And what you were describing before is a pretty remarkable reverse way of doing poll that kind of should be the real way. And
Yeah.
the majors got it ass backwards.
Totally.
The fact that they can come together and spend a long time deciding what's important to them, deciding what their values are, and then they cast out into the community for the right person to represent them.
Totally.
Is just, I can't really think of many better ways of doing politics.
It feels like it's dumb that it happens any other way. I mean, the Vince Connolly thing that we were talking about earlier is a classic example of that, right? Like, you've got a candidate who's been in that seat since 2013, and the Liberal Party decided there would be a better candidate for that seat.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's all based on
what?
ego and
vibes. It's
infighting.
vibes-based politics.
Like on the Labor side, it's all people who at uni were the ones who were really excited about the group assignment. They didn't so much want to do any work.
No, yeah.
So they joined the student union so they could flog off to the uni bar while people were working on the assignment.
Yes.
And then they got caught up from there in politics, and they were taught their whole lives how to backstab your way to the top until it's your turn.
Now what do you do?
With Albanese.
Yeah.
I mean, it should have been Tanya Plibersek, not Donald Pan.
Yeah.
But he got it because it was his
turn. Yeah.
And it's the same thing on the Liberal side, just it's more of a private school feeding system rather than a student union.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point out one of the comments on the YouTube channel is that someone voted for all 60 candidates under the line based on their aura, which I thought is
great. Love it. Love it.
I think that's quite magic.
Yeah. Next time, could you have everyone's aura here on this this image that we've got?
Yeah. So I feel like that's actually quite a good comment.
I'm looking at Dixon, and the swing against Dutton is minus 10.8%.
Yeah.
So who's got his vote here looks like Family
Independent.
First. Yeah.
Yeah.
Family First at 3.4%. They've got a swing increase. Trumpet of Patriots, even the Michael Jessup, is an extra 2%
Can
there.
you tell me those ads? Do those ads actually work?
What
Those
ads?
Text messages.
It may be in Dixon. Trumpet of Patriots worked.
Do you think they just beat people into submission with their text messages? Like, do you think
well,
it's just political violence?
Well, if it worked, it meant that they took their vote away from Liberal MP.
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't
interesting.
put it past Clive to just be standing up, voting booth, handing out red
Yeah.
cards to,
Yeah.
anyone.
I'll buy a sausage.
Yeah.
I'll buy a democracy sausage.
Sausage
Yeah.
at my local
Yeah.
polling place. Do we have to talk about that at some point?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I saved my vote until election day
For that.
reason.
There's a website that had the 1,600 democracy sausage places that had the sausages polls.
Well, obviously didn't check that.
You didn't check it. You were all over everything else, but not that.
The other person who was going to join us tonight is our accountant, Chris Wheatley, who's I'm going to.
Chris.
I think I just spot. Let me see. If I
Yeah.
can just check it up on screen.
He just said that he did drive past and then it started pissing down, and then he said the drunk mums called for their taxi. So
What?
So he has been at Sierra May Winery all afternoon.
Oh, that's very well.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So there is that. I did actually want to just have a really quick look at what's happening in Sturt. So let's just have a real quick look at what's happening there.
Is that all right if we go to Sturt, Luke?
Let's have a real quick look at what's happening in Sturt. It looks like. Here we go.
No, I've
Thinking
gone
about it.
past it. Where have I gone?
Now, as a reminder, Sturt is in South Australia again.
Still, it hasn't moved.
It hasn't
Since
moved.
the last time.
Not since the last time. I checked. It hasn't
It's not
moved.
there. Yeah, okay.
Just want to go through a couple of. I'll turn my microphone up for it first, like a rough start fresh. Just want to go through a couple of comments that we've had come through on YouTube.
Yeah, great.
Kung Fu says that Labor and Libs will always team up to fight the left, so I'd much rather Greens and Socialists.
Yeah.
Not a bad call.
Yep.
Laney Taylor, my vote focus was on greater transparency, women's rights, housing, wanted to vote independent, but ended up a hard pivot when that wasn't aligned on women's rights. Had minimum info to draw on, so hard to trust. I mean, that's like a common tale, right?
That's interesting, yeah.
The information before the elections could not be shallower.
Well, I was listening to somebody today talk about a former Liberal Party, like an election campaign manager, basically. So he was the person who's sort of running the campaigns for the Liberals, and he was being asked about why you've got the fly now, which is good. It's not on us. That's great. So he was being asked about why the Liberals would have only released their policy data within the last 2 days, like the costings for their policy in the last 2 days. And he was basically saying that, well, you don't have the resources of Treasury and government, which is not entirely true. But he was also saying that, it means that they're a soft target. So they don't have there's no room or time for the opposition to smash them on policy detail because they're so busy getting their final messages through that it slides in under the radar. But what that means for voters who are really engaged is, well, actually, I don't know what your policy positions really are because I haven't seen the costing. So if I believe in nuclear submarines, but I look at it and the price tag is 17 times what you said it was going to be, then maybe I'm not aligned with you any longer. So
what does that mean for education or for healthcare?
Housing or for Medicare, for cost of living crises. So it is interesting. And what's been most interesting to me about the Climate 200, community independence project is that it is actually forcing a level of professionalism onto independents and giving them the resources that they need in order to actually be proper members of proper representatives for their community. Here's what you need to have as a basic minimum to represent your community, which is groundbreaking.
And I would say I've never given to a political organisation before, but Climate 200, I gave $20 to a particular seat that was a marginal seat, and then I got another email 48 hours before the election saying we're now quadrupling any money that you donate to wherever so that we can really help the independents just have a say, just have some airtime, So,
and you've just reminded me of another, not to get negative, but another absolutely glaring disappointment from Anthony Albanese. The first official I believe it was the first thing he did officially when he took over the Australian government was to reduce the number of staff and the budgets to the independent candidates.
Yeah,
that
wow.
was his first action. So he saw
but
the
threatened,
Australian
right?
electorate
Threatened, yeah.
wanting greater representation, greater independence.
Wow.
And he thought, okay, well, the way we'll deal with that is just to squash them by and I've worked with a few of these candidates briefly and done videos with them, and you can tell that they are overstretched because they just don't have the resources.
How can you? Yeah.
And that'll be a very different story if it's a minority government, though.
Well, I
Don't you think?
I wouldn't begrudge them getting something like that done. Have I got a problem on my mic? I wouldn't begrudge them doing that as like their first step.
Yeah.
Okay, before you want to talk about anything, we need to start.
We need our staff.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is bonkers to me that the government can control the staff of other parties. Like, isn't it just haven't we just agreed on that as a bipartisan
This
thing?
is North Korea.
Oh, I didn't realize Sturt was in North Korea.
I do just quickly want to.
I don't think anything's come in on Sturt yet. By the look of it.
Serious comment that I just, we need to give it the gravity it deserves. Jake Abrahams did just want to say that he feels like there's no party that represents him as an incel. He would like a government mandated girlfriend program. So I think that's something we can all agree on.
Yeah,
the government
required.
in that area. And it's a problem. There's a lot of radicalized men because there's no girlfriends. So, thanks, Jake.
Yeah.
Great drop in there. And we've got.
Thanks for your valuable contribution, Jake. I wonder why you don't have a girlfriend.
And Lucas Skelly, remember when Clive Palmer forced the creation of the LNP in Queensland because Campbell Newman wouldn't build him a train line?
Yeah, to his dinosaur golf course.
That's so
I
true.
completely forgotten
I
about
had forgotten that. Lucas.
But they're getting for the Olympics. I think he's getting a
getting a train line.
He's getting the train line. I think, or to the Sunshine Coast. I don't know if it's going to the dinosaur golf course. I don't.
Can you just keep doing that?
Dinosaur golf course.
I've got my microphone.
Oh no,
Really helpful.
fancy nerd. Go on. There was something I was going to say in relation to, what did you just say? Clive Palmer? Nah, I got nothing. Clive Palmer. No. Nice chat again.
Nice one. Okay. Why the focus on preference deals? When we pre-voted, no one grabbed any flyers out the front. Does the media overemphasize the deals? Yeah, the focus on preference deals is because not everyone follows the how to vote cards.
Yeah.
But some people do, right? So, so how to vote card has so if you're voting for the Liberal Party, for example, in your seat, the Liberal Party will put out a how to vote card. So when you rock up to the election booth, they will hand you their card, and it will have vote 1 for us, vote 2 for One Nation, as is their preferences for most of this election, vote 3 for whoever, and usually it's like vote Labor or the Independent last. So whoever they think they're at most threatened by, they're going to say put them last. So the reason why preference deals are so important is because if I'm trying to keep someone out, I'm going to preference. So if we're sort of aligned in terms of values and ideology, I will say if I don't get in, I'm going to give all my votes to you. And if you don't get in, you're going to give all your votes to me.
So we've got a deal going because we don't want Dan to get in.
Yeah, so
Dan's a baddie.
Dan's the baddie.
We'll both put him as third because there's only 3 of us running. Maybe Johnny. Johnny, are you going to run as well?
Why not?
Yeah, maybe we'll put
Johnny is 3.
Yeah, and then Dan's
and then Luke is 4.
Oh yeah,
and then Dan is 5
because we don't want him to get in.
Yeah. So the preference, they talk about preference flows. So if you're, the important thing about preferences is that it means that if the candidate that I want the most doesn't get in, it means my vote automatically goes to Zach. And the preference flows that, as are decided by parties, are really important because they're listed on the how to vote cards. Now, as Dan was saying before, something like 70% of Conservative voters in certain electorates follow the how to vote card, but in other electorates and for other parties, it's as low as 30%. We were talking about today. So it can make a really big difference in some electorates, and in others,
not at all.
Not even at all.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important.
But what I think is interesting was what you said, the LNP, for most of their how to vote cards, the second was One Nation. Out of 100, and I can't remember what it was something like 139 out of 154 actually had their second as One Nation, which is difficult, right? If you're someone who wants to vote for the LNP, but you're very anti One Nation, and you're not sure that your candidate is going to get in, I would imagine you wouldn't put One Nation. You wouldn't follow the how to vote. You would go, well, actually, no, I'm definitely not going to make sure they don't get my vote at all. So I will have them further down.
How many people on the on your House of Representatives list, how many parties did you recognise? Like, had you heard of them all before?
Yeah, I think so, because I think I had Animal Justice. I had Greens. I had obviously LNP and Labor. I think there was the Cannabis Party, and then I think there were independents. So I didn't necessarily know I didn't know who my independents were, to be honest. But I did have a quick flick. So because I had done a lot of prep before, thinking I was in a different electorate. I still need to update that. But I really wanted to make sure that I was a conscious and aware voter. I didn't want to just rock up and go, okay, they've handed me something, I'm just going to tick it, which I have previously done in the past, for sure.
I didn't actually, like, I would consider myself a relatively well-informed voter, but I didn't know that the Muslim Party was a party in my electorate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the Muslim Party of Australia is basically focused on Palestinian issues, and they're trying to put a lot of pressure on the government to treat that treat it differently than what it's treated it so far. But this is a really interesting comment from Mike Keys on the YouTube, on the live stream. It's a competency issue for me as a 30-year-old even. I don't have the resilience to get the, quote, right information for me. There's too much work to understand how those impact me, how the issues impact me directly. I mean, I think that's why the Vote Compass is a good tool, but it's not for everyone, I don't think. There's some comments on here that say, you know, that the Vote Compass actually tells Labor voters that they're more aligned to the Greens. I don't know anything about that, but that's just a comment that we've got there. But I think that's a really interesting issue. Like, you don't have the resilience, you don't have the time, you don't necessarily have the what's the word I'm looking for? You don't even necessarily have the understanding of, okay, well, if this issue is over here, how does that flow through to impacting me or the people that I care about?
And also sometimes, you know, the major parties aren't necessarily upfront with what they're going to be doing right from the get-go. So they're going to be there for however many years. Are they actually, when you think that you're aligned with them, it might not be anyway. And if they're not clear about what their policies are, it's really hard to be able to go, oh yeah, okay, they're really speaking for me or for people that I love or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's tricky.
And I think too, you know, I guess if we are this is the benefit of a two-party preferred system, right? Because you can go, okay, well, am I conservative or am I, you know,
Slightly.
liberal in the L small l sense of the word? You know, am I more progressive or am I more conservative? So you go, well, I'm more progressive, so I'm probably going to vote for Labor. I probably don't agree with everything they do. So I guess that's the benefit of a two-party preferred system. But the way that falls down is that if you go, well, actually no one aligns with me, or there's something like, you know, as one of our commenters said before, you know, women's rights are really important to that person. Neither party is aligned for that person on those issues, right? So then you do have to do the deep dive.
And we haven't even talked about Indigenous issues as well. You know, how much does the Voice and what happened with the referendum impact Indigenous people and how they're voting as well? And, you know, how I'm voting in terms of the anti, again, I was saying to Jen today, everything that came in the mailbox around the Voice was all just, it was just anti. Everything was anti. I wasn't seeing any positive things. So when there's when you've got more funding, when you've got more money to put out flyers, to have billboards, to do any of that kind of stuff, it really, the message is so strong, and the message of hate was so strong, or fear was so strong.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of makes it clear for me of who I don't want to vote for. Not because of what their policies are, but because of what they hate.
And
and who they stand against.
One of the things that I really wanted to talk about was the rise of, you know, quote, influencers in terms of their impact on the media, on the impact on the election. So for the very first time this year, influencers, independent media organisations were invited into the budget lockup, and the Australian news media basically pissed their pants because the biggest argument they had was that these people lack, quote, credibility. And what they mean by that is that these mostly young women who have the balls to stand up and say that I don't agree with what you're talking about and I want to address a different market than what you're talking to, you know, they're like, these people lack credibility. Well, no, these people are either lawyers, they're journalists, they're, you know, they've built a business on social media as an influencer. They've had to work their freaking asses off to build an audience and to build a following, and that's not easy. People think it's easy, but it's not easy. So these people were invited into the budget lockup and started talking about their opinions on what these policies mean. And they contextualize that information for their followers. And so that's really important. So if you're listening to someone like Abby Chatfield and you go, well, guess what? I trust Abby's opinion on vibrators, on music festivals, on whatever else she's talking about. And she's also happens to be talking about the Greens. I trust Abby. And I believe that she's doing that. I believe that she's saying what she believes and is,
and has your own interests at heart. You know,
Yeah.
like it's
But she's not pretending to be someone that she's not, right? So she's talking to her followers, her over 500,000 followers on TikTok, 600,000, I think, about what she actually believes in. And the ABC and the Australian and all these guys are absolutely wetting their pants, saying these people lack credibility. No, what they lack is a large masthead above them to tell them what the editorial policy is. They actually have no direction on editorial policy about their own, other than their own values.
And how you should present yourself, who you should or shouldn't be, or who you are allowed to be. You know, like it's you've got to be an upstanding citizen who is this or that. You know, like it's very free. It's open slather almost. You know, in terms of who people, it was exactly what you're saying, the Courier Mail having a paywall. So, you know, younger people who can access a whole lot of information that they're not going to be paying for newspapers or whatever. The misunderstanding, I think, that happens there is that people, I'm not very clear. Goodbye.
Thanks for sharing. Well, I'm
having a moment.
The biggest people to on the Conservative side, there's an ex-Olympic, I think he's Olympic, but a diver called Sam Fricker, and he has interviewed just about everyone, you know, across the whole political spectrum. You know, and has had video and podcast interviews with all of these people. And the other thing is people like Hannah Ferguson from Cheek Media, they've also been interviewing lots of different people around helping them understand how to, you know, based on their own preferences. So that's a really interesting, it's kind of an interesting, progressive, what would you say, like, I guess the way that the media has kind of positioned that, so these influencers really do have a lot of power now. Yeah, I think so. We've got some technical things happening in the background.
Oh, this is just amazing professional stuff. I'm just going to sit down on the couch for a second and console you.
Keep me company.
The work that you've both been doing that I'm blown away by. To cover for Luke and I as we madly... I don't know if you
Mad
can
lib.
hear
Mad lib.
I don't know if you can hear my mechanical keyboard there. It's a little bit like the bit at the end of Riverdance where all of the people come on stage and tap dance at the same time.
I haven't had a mechanical keyboard for a long time.
And that's what you come here to the Undercurrent for, is Riverdance reference.
It's really...
Look, we're so close to getting this thing connected back up, and it might seem like an easy thing, but sadly it's nerd level 57. So thanks for your patience. And what I did want to do, Luke, have we got the McPherson spot up still that we had on Unreal Engine before? Let's maybe just have a little, where did I put my controller of destiny? We might just have a little browse around there. Only because this is one of the most stacked fields in the country.
Oh yeah, that's true.
12 candidates, or is it 13?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
This is not how high tech.
The play school references.
Counted with my finger to figure out how many candidates there were. But
have you got your mic on? Have you got your mic on?
Have I got my mic on? Oh, really? That's huge.
Why don't you take this one for now? Hold, please.
You know what it could be?
Pause.
That's all right.
Can you just take that one while you're talking?
Okay,
and I'll steal Zach's. Yeah.
So professional, guys. So again, we've got in this seat an amazing community group that has been working for years to find a candidate. Voices of McPherson. I don't know if that's the right name. I think they might have had a cooler name than that. But a lot of people in the Tallabudger area and in the hinterland of the Gold Coast. And they've eventually found Urchana Murray Bartlett, who is running. She's a small business owner. And I would say that they're in with a pretty solid chance. But as you can see, it's an incredibly split field. We've got legalized cannabis, obviously the usual suspects, One Nation. We've got Animal Justice Party. We've got another independent, Michelle Fay, so there might be, again, a little bit of a split in the independent vote. Leon Rebello is running for the Liberal National Party. Family First, they're all here. That's the Gerald Rennick's People Party, which People First, I think he called it, which annoys the hell out of me because I feel like there'd be plenty of voters who might just walk into the booth and go, yeah, I'm a person. I want to be put first. And
Would you like some live updates, some live data updates?
look, it'd be more data than we're getting through this currently. So yeah, sure.
So
Go for it.
the Liberal National, Leon Rebello, is a 10.1% swing against him. Sorry, hello.
Hi, everyone. One mic working. This is we're on board. So the Liberal National candidate Leon Rebello has a 10.1% swing against him, but is still in the lead with 33% of the vote for him. The Labor Party Alice Price has won 21% of the vote, but also has a 7% swing against her. The Independent Achana has a 15.5% swing against her. Now, in Australian politics, a 5% swing either way is a monumental swing. So for an independent candidate to have a 15% swing against them, towards them, is actually quite phenomenal. And I think that even if quite a lot of these independent candidates don't get up this election, next election, this is going to be such an important part for people to remember. I'm going to be really interested to understand a lot of the post analysis that happens after this, because this gives us a really important, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, yeah, indication of where the country is going. So I really feel like we need to, even if these independent candidates don't win, they have been building their community support for years and years and years, and it may not be this term, but next term it absolutely is going to be. So I think this is a really clear indication of where that's going. A 15.5% swing in Australian politics is frankly unheard of.
So sorry, while I was just trying to fix our amazing sound system, is that for Achana Murray Smith? Is that Murray Bartlett? Sorry,
yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, amazing, right? And isn't there two? There's the Greens candidate has, so the Liberal, the LNP, or the coalition, the Labor Party, and the Greens have all had swings against them, and the only one that's had a swing for them, of the sort of major ones, is the Independent.
Unreal.
It's mind blowing, right?
Super exciting.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop that there for you, Zach, so you can jump onto that when you're ready. We might actually could we get to Groom from there fairly easily? Groom, Groom, which is in the Toowoomba kind of Western Downs area, or just next to the Western Downs.
A lot of old money.
So I think the cool thing is seeing candidates on the independent side who are having their second crack, and Susie's one of them. So at the last election, Susie Holt, who's a former social worker, this used to be the second safest seat in Australia. A guy called Garth Hamilton, who was parachuted in to some extent against the wishes of a lot of locals, and that was what originally caused Susie to run. And she got that to within a couple of percentage points of a margin at the last election. So pretty great for a first outing. And I tell you what, they have been working for a long time behind the scenes to get her campaign ready for this time around. So I'll be super interested. Have we got any information?
Yeah, so she's had a 10.9% swing towards her, and the LNP has had a 6.4% swing against them. The LNP, the National Party, is still in the lead there. Well, I think unfortunately, it looks like they might hold that seat. But obviously preference flows have yet to be counted. But that's a 10% swing towards her. So these independents are having phenomenal swings towards them. Like,
it's incredible.
I'm actually astonished, because I've been honestly looking at the odds all week, and none of the odds have been talking about independent candidates. None of them.
And there's a few outliers that I think could still, like, apparently polls have just closed in the West.
Yeah, but they would have just closed in WA.
There's a candidate in Forest that we're going to talk about, Sue Chapman. She's a doctor, and again, an extremely strong community, grassroots support behind her. This one will be interesting because Kirsty Smolensky ran as an independent at the last election as well, and some people kind of felt that split the vote against sort of counterproductively for the independents that were running, and she's running again. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether somehow their preferences coalesce and end up in the right place or head back towards.
And this is why preference flows are so important, right? Because This is where prediction models come in. So if I know where my preferences are going to go, so if I know that Susie Holt isn't going to get this over the line, I know where her preferences are going to go. So that's why people can predict where a seat is going to go earlier than when all the when every single preference has been counted, because they already know where the majority of those preferences are going to go. So that's why preference flows are also very important.
I'm just going to have one more crack at getting our connection back up with the
We will
Electoral
talk
Commission.
some more
You got
shit.
any questions there you can field? I'm going to just remind you on the really cool button you've got here.
Yeah.
So if you tap on that and then you hit send,
Okay.
it'll come up on the broadcast. And
Great.
that gives people their
Okay.
moment in the sun.
Moment in the sun.
You get to see their face or their avatar or whatever.
The other,
Right.
the other thing I'm going to say about Groom again is that similar pattern is where LNP have lost the votes, they've gone to
One Nation.
Trumpet of Patriots again, and Family First.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay.
So between the two of them, they've got 7.4%, and LNP have lost 6.4%.
Can I ask, what do you like? I mean, the Liberal vote is a pretty safe, known vote, right? So why are people voting for Trumpet of Patriots and what? I mean, even One Nation has lost a bit of votes there, but Trumpet of Patriot and Family First. Like, why are people voting? Like, what is the difference now between those two parties where people are going? Oh,
I would say I wonder if it's more the National Party of the LNP, and so the more right-leaning conservative voters are going, LNP's not enough right for me anymore.
Okay.
So I need to go further to the right, which is going to be Family First and Trumpet of Patriots,
And
potentially.
I'm wondering,
and One Nation, I imagine, as well.
I'm wondering if the reason why quite a lot of that culture war dog whistling stuff happened in the last 48 hours from Dutton was to really make sure that that vote didn't go there.
Yeah.
So if the voice stuff, all of that kind of real culture war stuff, the working from home stuff, I'm super interested to understand if that kind of culture war dog whistling was to shore up that really right-wing support.
Yeah.
So you're in a pickle there because you've got to chase that far right, but then you miss the centre right.
Yeah. And I think because there's not that much difference between the centre right and the centre left.
Yeah.
The extreme outliers there, the National Party voters or traditional National Party voters are going, well, we're just not being represented anymore. So,
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
And again, who are their preferences going to then? So
Yeah. Okay, well, let's have a quick look. I want to check out another seat actually. So, I think what I'd love to do is just have a really quick look at Deakin. I'm really interested to understand, because that's the one that's held by the slimmest of margins. It's less.
LP's ahead. 2.5% swing to the ALP. Only 2.2% have been counted though.
Okay, yeah, but that's okay for now. Yeah. Okay, so what are the who's the independent there?
Please wait.
Please hold.
I'm not getting any more. I'm on a different thing. Can't tell you. Yeah, so it was a Lib held seat. So at the moment it's 52.4 to Labor.
Okay.
47.6 to LNP.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Where are the other ones to watch?
Yeah, okay. So the other ones to watch are the other.
Oh, Bennelong.
Yeah, Bennelong and Kooyong as well is another really interesting one to watch, because that's the independent there has run a bloody phenomenal race, and it's actually held by the independent now.
Right.
So the independent Monique Ryan.
So where are you?
This one. So so the independent. I meant Kooyong.
Kooyong. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. So Kooyong is held by an independent at the moment. So Monique Ryan, MP Monique Ryan. She holds the seat currently with a margin of 2.2%, and she has had an almost 7% swing towards her.
Towards her, great.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting.
And in the previous election, like before,
in 2022,
yes, who was the sitting member then? Was that it?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, that's a good question. I'm not sure who the sitting member was when she. Well, Kooyong, it was Liberal.
Liberal, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm fairly sure. Trumpet of Patriots. I haven't seen a negative swing against Trumpet of Patriots just yet.
Well, they haven't got anyone in there previously.
No, but I mean, yeah, that could be true, but I wonder if they're still talking, whether they're still considering Clive Palmer's, the Clive
But
Palmer
they only had
party.
one. They only had one person, didn't they? Or no one? Did they have one?
Did they? I don't know.
So
Well,
there's nothing much to swing against. Let's spend $123 million.
let's swing the shit out of this.
Yeah. Who was I looking up? Who did I say I wanted to look up? Bennelong.
Quality, Bennelong. Yeah.
Whoa, 11.5% swing to the ALP. Again, only 2.9% count. So the night is young.
The night is but a babe.
But yeah, 61.5 to Labor, 38.5 to Lib.
Votes. I just heard from the man cave that votes are happening. So votes are coming in.
Here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the key piece of technology that has been plaguing Dan for this entire time for the last hour and 2 hours and 20 minutes, or 2 hours basically. So the AEC releases packets of data every 90 seconds to broadcasters. So how the ABC, Channel 9, Channel 7, Sky News, all those kind of people are able to update their live counts. And it's where Anthony Green does all of his amazing work from. And so, exactly. And so the AEC has basically a live data feed that you can tap into if you're super nerdy. And Dan has been sweating on this for weeks and months, and now it seems like it's finally working. I'm going to invite him out of the man cave shortly to make sure that he can come and talk to us about votes. How you doing in there, mate?
Give me 1 second.
Give me 1 second was the cry there. If you got any
Gilmore.
questions,
I'm going for Gilmore.
almost at the station was the cry. I don't want to know, but thanks.
Gilmore. I'm going for all the marginal seats. Gilmore is another one.
Apparently, there's no football on free to air tonight, so that's.
Gilmore marginal seat, and 11.6% have counted, and it's a 5.7% swing to Labor. So
There's an independent in that seat, so let me have a quick look.
Yeah, I'm in the. I don't know where I am. Keep jumping.
Interesting. So Gilmore is the New South Wales South Coast one. Yep.
Menzies. That was a coalition, I think, previously.
Yeah.
Oops.
Menzies is also an interesting one because
again, 2.6% swings at Labor at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, well, we could be in for a Labor majority.
We might not be for minority, that's for sure. Yeah.
Might not be. Okay. That might not be it. Yeah.
Who else we got? Lions. Okay, yep. Not the Brisbane Lions.
Not the Lions. Trust me, if the Lions were on tonight, we would be having a much.
ALP ahead. There's a 10.8.
Did you just have a heart attack, or?
Hey.
Is it good? Are you good?
We're getting there.
Get his microphone. So in Lions, that was another marginal seat. 5.2% has been counted, and 10.8% swing to the ALP.
10.8% swing.
Yeah.
These swings are
swinging.
bonkers.
Really?
Yeah. This is amazing.
Good on you, Australia.
Yeah.
Keeps us on our toes, you know.
Yeah, far out.
Not.
Yep.
Look,
Casey.
what we're now doing, just to keep you updated, now
What's going on?
everyone's super interested in the XML data structure and parsing JSON arrays and all that really fun stuff, right? So we had this.
I just need a minute to
So what's happened to me is I've got this huge boost of energy that's been powered by AI over the last few weeks, where they tell me that I can do anything in the world.
Yeah, amazing.
I believe
you believe
them.
it.
I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
believe them.
Sycophants.
Yeah, they really are. It turns out.
Doesn't Zuckerberg Sam Altman call it glimmering? What's it called? What's the fucking word?
Oh,
for it?
I refer to myself as a vibe coder.
A vibe coder.
I have
that's
no
vibe
idea
coding,
how to
yeah.
program, but I
just
know
get the feel.
roughly
feel.
know how to guide the AIs through it and test their scripts and what have you. So we felt like we had a fairly solid platform, but something broke today in all of our testing, and what we're dealing with now is a backlog. So it's now processing through the last gazillion updates from every 90 seconds from the AEC.
Okay.
And it's feeding those votes progressively into the database. So we might start to see things come up. So I think what we're going to do is, just for a little while, we're just going to kick it old school, and we're just going to enjoy this tally room readout and the cool things that we'll bring up.
We'll do it. Yeah.
why don't we even plug your little HDMI thing back in there?
Oh, okay.
And that way Johnny has something to switch to that isn't just our faces.
Isn't just our faces.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
even talking about? Okay.
Casey is a marginal seat as well. There's a swing to the LNP, or Libs actually, 4%.
Rightio.
Where is Casey? In Victoria. Answer my own question.
Good chat.
Yeah. More details.
Okay.
Quick drop in here from Smack Rage, who's been an active participant in the YouTube chat, so thank you. Who says it appears the data displayed on the ABC is delayed for some reason. The count for Dixon is 22.4% on the Guardian site, but it's only 6.1 for the ABC.
Well, the ABC is much more conservative.
That's true.
So it's not that they're delayed. They are a much more conservative caller of those things.
Which was going to be a big feature of our broadcast was going to be not that.
Yeah, right.
We were just going to let it
Raw
out.
dog it.
Dash it out.
Raw
Yeah.
dog it.
I'm calling it. I'm calling it. I'm calling
I'm
the
calling the whole
election.
election. I'm sure it's a surprise for the viewers at home that we would have that approach.
Yeah.
Just to finish off from Smack Rage, though, the key point is the last part of the sentence. Either way, it isn't looking good for Dut Plug. So
Yes.
that's the first time
I've heard that. Yes.
Plug.
That is
Thanks, Marty.
fantastic.
That's
Absolutely
smart.
Is it, Marty?
fantastic.
Yeah, that's smart.
Plug. Love it.
And Lucas says, turns out Clive Palmer couldn't even run a Gold Coast soccer club. Now he wants to run the country. Wow, Lucas, I reckon Lucas has had some run-ins with Clive in the past. He's got some dirt.
Lucas is a staunch Labor voter. If it's the Lucas Gelly that I know,
Okay.
he is a staunch Labor man.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he's very engaged in politics, and he subscribes to the Courier Mail, so he reads.
Oh no!
He reads
Tell
the
CFMU that.
No. He's a well-informed voter.
Should have had him on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Quick. Come on over.
And hopefully my sound isn't shit anymore. So thank you for the people who pointed that out because that's important. So do you want to fill me in on the latest thing that's jumped out to you from your laptops there? Anything?
Just this, like I said, the swing to the independents and the swing against Liberals to Family First and to
Trump,
One Nation.
Trump at Patriots.
Yeah, so the Conservative vote is really being quite split. I think. And what I'm curious about is, I think Peter Dutton has been an excellent opposition leader. He has held Albanese's balls to the fire every opportunity he's had. Anytime there's been a slip up or a change in policy or anything like that, he's been on the media and on the news and has had very clear and concise messaging for the Australian public. So he's, as we all know, his opinion polls were higher going into the election, and he's basically punched himself in the dick for the last 5 weeks. So it really genuinely was his election to lose. And so he's a match fit opposition leader and not a match fit leader. So he has not had the, like Albanese has shown up to the media every single day for the last 3.5 years and been grilled by the media for 50 minutes a day, right? In every press conference for 360, he's match fit. Dutton is not. So when Dutton shows up in front of the media to say, this is our policy, and they go, what is that going to cost? And he doesn't know, he's surprised about those questions. So I think that Dutton has been an exceptional opposition leader and a really poor leader.
Isn't there a maxim of sorts about that great opposition leaders always make poor candidates because they have such a need for an adversarial style as an opposition leader? It's so hard for them to then turn it around and be here's my positive voice.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I wish I could remember where I heard that.
Yeah.
But I think that's also interesting from Dutton's beginnings as a police officer. So even like 20 years ago when he first started to run, it was I stand against corruption. I've seen the best and the worst of people, and this is the worst of people. And even that idea of people who are committing crimes, they're the worst people. No, maybe they're just homeless. Maybe they have mental health issues. Maybe there's all of this kind of stuff. So even that, as a 20 years ago, I've got something to fight against or go against, rather than, again, I'm for all of these positive, amazing things and change or whatever it might be. I think it's.
And just to go back to that point you were
doing
making before about how late they were to release any form of policy, like substantial policy platform. Not to sound like an evangelist for the independent movement again, but so many of these quality independent candidates with big community backing have had substantial policy platforms up on their websites for 6 months to 12 months in many cases.
Yeah.
Which gives people a chance to digest it, get to know who they are, and actually make an informed decision.
It gets the Johnnies of the world to just find who their independents are and go, I'm just going to Google that and see what I can find out.
Tell you what, you lot distracted me a bit from trying to sort that issue before because I kept hearing how gold that little interaction was.
We're all over
Nice to
it.
get a bit of that, and as soon as Luke does this latest little thing, we really need to hear from him as well.
Just so you know, I've just had a little flash up here that even Anthony Green's dealing with some tech problems.
That makes me feel so.
You are in good company. It's
Yeah.
all good. He's been trawling through.
Did
Yeah.
you know this is also a touch screen, but we just time to hook that up.
Ooh,
And
no.
it's probably for the best. 'cause
You could
we're all
just touch
seeing, like,
yourself, man.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's not that time.
It's really- but isn't
We're
it?
not going to call it yet.
9 o'clock has to be, isn't it? The adults only time slot. Isn't
Oh,
it?
that's true. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the ratings classification switches.
Yeah, it switches over.
That's
to
fine.
I'm getting my gear off. Let's go for it.
We only just got it on. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was good. There was another point I wanted to make about when you're talking about the negative, the power of Dutton as an opposition leader and the negative nature of those kind of attacks. Again, it speaks to how short term everything is in our politics. I
Yeah.
think I heard you guys talking about this earlier, so forgive me if I'm going on common
No,
ground.
go
but
for it. Yep.
all they're interested in is what gets them elected at the next
Re-elected, right?
election.
Yeah.
What we desperately need in Australia is long-term policies like high-speed rail. Don't get me goddamn started on that. Like things that take a while to put in place that could do meaningful, substantive differences to Australians.
It's the whole Indigenous kind of practice of the next 7 generations, you know, like actually what are we doing for the next 7 generations? Not so that I can get in this time and then all get re-elected.
What's that? Explain to me more about what that is, the Indigenous.
So it's not here, but in the US, I don't know which particular group it is, but the whole philosophy is every decision that we make, we think about how it will affect the next 7 generations.
Wow.
And we don't make a decision until we've considered all of that.
I think there'd be a lot of
We don't even do one generation.
Gen Z and under voters who would feel like they barely even thought about the next 2 or 3.
Yeah, right.
The way the housing crisis is at the moment.
Yeah.
I think again, the more that policies have to be passed through the filter of a quality crossbench, the more that we could I hope that we could get to that sort of a
Agreed.
situation where things actually get decided with a larger voice of Australia having input into them, and it can only lead to better outcomes.
Yeah,
How we doing?
totally.
I saw your eyes light up a couple of times on the laptop there. Did you?
Oh no, nothing terribly exciting.
I'm in the swing seats again,
Yeah, can you
and
tell me-
Chisholm in Victoria, there has been a 7.2% swing to the ALP at the moment.
What's
So there's the swing, like everything seems to be swinging. I think I've only found one that was swinging to LNP.
Yeah, I haven't seen any swings towards the LNP. I think one of the things that that I certainly didn't understand until, shockingly recently, was just around how the electorate is actually broken up. So, so it's, when you look at someone like Melbourne and you see like 30 seats around it, and then you zoom out and there's 1 seat for the whole of the rest of the state, basically. So obviously seats are based on population.
I think it's about 114,000 or something.
Yeah, so they
electorate.
take the entire Australian population, they divide it by 150 or whatever it is, and they go, right, well, we need...
56, I imagine.
Yeah, so, there's 150 seats in this parliament. Yeah, and they go, okay, well, we need to have 115,947 in each seat or whatever it is. And so... Yeah, so approximately that. So, so seats are based on population, not necessarily on land mass. So, what's really interesting is some of these rural seats are covered by. So, there's the seat in Perth. It's got urban fringe, it's got rural, and then very, very remote rural. So you've got some of those. When you look at the booth breakdown of how those booths voted, the ones on the inner city voted like Labor or Greens, and the ones in the far rural areas have all voted Conservative. And so there's a real mental split in some of these seats around. It's a real competition,
Which I think, how is it possible that even the 2 major parties aren't even considering what's going on for rural and regional? Like particularly Labor even, that like I want to eat. Like I fully respect farmers and the other hardships that they go through and the support that they need. And, I want to know that that they're getting a fair go. Like I'm trying to grow my own veggies at the moment. Maybe I'll live off rocket and a couple of tomatoes if the possums don't eat them. But, we live in the city, we think we can just go into a supermarket. I think something like COVID has been great to be able to go,
But
or
also
even the
egg prices,
cyclone,
also the
anything.
eggs price. Like
Yeah.
you can walk into a supermarket now, and as vegetarians, we don't eat meat, so we're not replacing eggs with any other protein besides tofu. So, like,
Gross.
well, exactly. It's so totally, you know.
And farmers are being absolutely sold
They're-
down the river.
They're being
by-
hammered,
so
smashed.
in
Yeah.
going back to Groom, Susie Holt's electorate, they have been battling for a long time, and this is more of a state government issue there, but the federal government has a lot to do with
Yeah.
it as well. For the imagine being a farmer who says no to a gas company. I don't want a well on my farm, but the neighbour says yes. It's legal somehow for them
Yeah.
to drill, put in a well on the border of their two farms and drill diagonally underneath the farm of the
property.
farmer who said
Yeah.
no. And he walks out one morning to his crop and he's been hit with subsidence, which is where the ground starts to drop. And these guys have graded their farm over hectares to the millimeter.
Millimetre.
Like they so that
had
the
the
water runs
waterfall,
off.
yeah.
And now he's got water just pooling on his property and he can't get his machinery in there. He can't harvest his crops or their crops, I should say. It's not necessarily, there's plenty of amazing female farmers out there. And when they've tried to talk to the Queensland government, they're so in bed with Arrow Energy that they won't do anything about it. They try to talk to the Nationals that represent some of those seats out there. They're too cozied up to the gas industry to do anything about it. And this is literally our food
Food.
bowl.
It's their food bowl. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the thing that you talk about with 7 generations.
Yeah. You absolutely have to go, yeah, how are we going to survive? Not just one, but 2 or 3 or 4, like, and it blows my mind that people who have kids or grandkids, I don't have kids, I don't have grandkids, but I already want to think about that. So surely if you've got kids of your own, grandkids of your own, or whatever, that you would actually go, what world are we leaving them? Will they be able to eat? Will they have clean water? Will they be homeless? Like it's just so basic. It just seems so basic. Oh, we've got something.
Numbers.
Can you go to Dixon for me?
What?
Yeah, sure.
Dixon. This is Dutton's seat. As Smack Rages said, the Dut plug.
I love that.
Plug. Oh,
Okay, sorry,
okay.
we can't do Dixon. That's all right.
Go back.
We can see my amazing flying skill.
Yeah.
Say that again, Luke.
Kingsford Smith is one of the few electorates that has come through numbers.
Okay.
And I'd just like to point out that News Corp has called it for Albanese.
Really?
Yep. And
Already?
ABC is pretty close to calling it for Albanese.
Wow.
It's an early
could be
night.
An early night.
Yeah.
And that Dutton, oh yeah, the ABC has said Labor has won the election.
Already? Wow.
What is the time? Is that
You
the
heard it
early-
here first.
Is
folks.
that,
Wins
is
the
that the
election.
earliest ever?
Labor wins the
8:36?
election and Anthony Green projects as Dutton faces a fight in his own seat. So there you
Great.
go. Labor has won the election. That is incredible.
Wow. What, as in majority government?
Yeah, majority government.
Is this the part where I have a meltdown on camera?
Yeah.
Okay. I was so hoping that.
Why don't you have a seat?
Come on,
Just
come and sit.
down.
Come and talk. Come and talk to us. Let's
Okay.
have a bit
Come
of a
and have a
therapy.
seat.
Get on the couch. You need to lie on the couch.
Do you take,
Yeah.
Look,
I
Saki's
was,
a therapist, so
I was
Yeah.
going to say, like, do I need my Bupa card?
Yeah. Charge it.
just your Medicare card.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say,
Oh
I
no,
do bulk
actually, it doesn't bulk bill.
No,
No,
right,
we need a better system in the government for me to
I'm gonna
bulk bill.
quickly go to the bathroom while
I
you
can,
talk.
I can sit here, though, and pilot our way around this beautiful map.
It's like you're just playing a little Xbox game.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
it's pretty
really-
cool.
Is ahead of
Ali France is ahead of Dutton,
Okay.
folks.
Okay, so
Why don't we like do a dramatic? Let's see if I
Yeah,
can pilot my
zoom.
way to Dixon. Yeah, go for it.
got a target to go for?
No, I'm guessing.
Positive.
Totally
Yeah,
guessing.
keep going.
Yeah. On my terrible
Over
geography.
there. Yeah, you.
I'm just waiting for Luke to.
Ah.
Are you good, man?
I was going to say you have to at least go to Queensland, mate.
Oh, good call.
Go,
And
we're going
actually,
in.
while we're up here, do you want to just briefly touch on what Jen said before about just how insane it is the way our electorates are
Yeah.
divided up? So you can see the name Lingiari up there in the top left. That's actually out that far. That's actually almost the entirety of the Northern Territory is the seat of Lingiari. And there's
Right.
some random island that you can just see a little
Oh, yeah,
tiny
yeah, yeah.
pink dot
Yep.
that for some reason is associated with that electorate, which is why our system shoved the name out there.
Yeah, right.
You got seats like that. You got a seat of Durack, which is bigger. Luke, what was the stat on Durack? Get in here.
like 1.7 million square kilometres. And just to compare, Texas is 700,000 square kilometres.
Oh my!
So
Get
it's
in
like
here.
What?
Hang on.
Come and give us some information.
If it works. hold that so that we can talk to you because you're a wealth
Yeah,
of information.
come on in. Join us on the couch. Come on.
No,
Oh,
like,
you
I'd
still-
like to see
Oh,
the numbers.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
okay,
Well,
okay.
after you get some numbers
Yeah,
up, we
all
want to talk
right,
to you.
all right.
Yeah. So yeah, the stats on, if you couldn't hear Luke there because we didn't have a microphone on him because of our professionalism, he was just saying that Durack is 1.7 million square kilometers.
Yeah, I'd have to remember the exact numbers, but I think it's about 1.7 million square kilometers.
So that's one electorate, and the state of Texas is only 700.
Yeah, it's like
1,000.
690 something
Insane.
thousand square kilometers. So
We've
you
got a
think
big
of
country.
Texas being big, but then you realize like no.
So what that says though is in that particular electorate, that's 114,000 people,
Yes.
or whatever it might be. It's roughly that. Yeah. Oh yeah, you can actually be in the shot. There's a shot. up
Stand
there.
next
Look
to
at
that
that. Yeah. There we go.
There you go. And while you're there,
You're gonna guide
I'm going
guide
to
us
see if
into
I can pilot my
Dixon.
way like a chump into
deep
Dixon.
in the heart. of
And this is where we're going to see
Yes.
the cool geographical, I'm struggling for words here, scalability, relative sizes, something,
relative
something,
sizes are insane.
Like
yeah.
as you head in here, you start to see just how small these electorates actually are.
Yep.
And look, I think I
Oh, yeah.
found
And
it.
then the idea
Hey,
is
woo.
that they are divvied up based on population, right? So
Yeah.
you're trying to get relatively equal numbers. When you think about 1.7 million square kilometers
Yeah.
being the same as something like this, it's a little bit insane.
And I think it was compared to, they talked about a couple of the New South Wales ones, which were like this, 10 streets or something, like, because everyone's just concentrated living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of the inner city ones are always just like
Yeah.
less than a square kilometer almost.
So Dutz could lose his seat.
It's looking, let's see.
I mean, I'm trying as I grow up not to delight in the
Losing.
downfall of people that I don't agree with, but I feel like am I on solid ground to
you're
be
on-
happy that
I
he's
think
losing
you're on
his seat?
solid
Is that
ground.
I feel
cool?
like Schadenfreude wasn't invented by a teenager. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure it's enjoyable across the ages.
I love that.
That's
And so here's Ali France, who she's dealt with a disability for most of her life, or was it an accident? I'm trying
Car
to remember.
accident.
It was car accident, yeah. So she's obviously turned some of that and remarkable resilience into the willingness to try 3 or 4 times to unseat Dutton, and it sounds like she might
It's,
succeed.
at the moment, it's a 5.1% swing that's been counted here so far to her.
Wow.
Yep.
so it might not be like a huge win, but it
It,
What's
just knock on wood. Just knock on wood.
53.4% to 46.6. Hey,
Peace get difference.
Peace
Yeah.
get.
Plus,
Oh yeah.
so I guess, can we take that as a consolation prize? We didn't get our hung parliament or our minority government,
Yeah,
but
I-
maybe
that's-
see the back of Spud for a little while.
Which, yeah. So what will that mean? I'm interested what that means for LNP and who, like.
Well, Jen, you had an
Who's
interesting
next?
point. Get your microphone. Oh no, you're.
Oh, she's eating a banana.
Yeah. Jen had a great point earlier where
Take your
she was
time.
talking about the fact that if you look at the leadership of the cabinet positions or the deputy leadership, it's hard to see any real option.
Who are the
for
leaders?
Someone to replace. I mean, he
Yeah.
wasn't really an
Not a
option in the
leader.
first
No,
place.
no.
So who else are they going to go to?
Well, if you think about Labor, you could probably name 3 or 4 either ministers
in line, yeah.
or cabinet ministers
Jason
or
Clare,
yeah,
maybe.
like Tony Plibersek. You can probably name like 3. Jim Chalmers, you probably know the treasurer. Like if you're interested in politics, you probably can name someone, at least one other person other than Albanese. I genuinely couldn't name, besides Warren Inch, who I know is retiring. I couldn't name any other Liberal MP before doing all the research for this.
Yeah,
I
no, I couldn't
genuinely
either.
couldn't have.
Yeah, yeah.
I genuinely couldn't have, because Dutton was the only person that I saw. And I think what's been really important for the Liberal Party is they got rid of all the women in 2019.
Yeah.
And ScoMo just went, you're all out. So people like Julie Bishop, Michaelia Cash, all those, well, not Michaelia, she's a senator, but like Julie Bishop, who is an extraordinarily
So experienced, like
So
extraordinarily experienced.
and you
that
know
she
what?
didn't get the tap. It's just like, wow.
And a lot of women in those teal seats would have voted for her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
all of those women would have voted for
Yeah.
her, and the Liberal Party would have stopped that exodus from them
Yeah.
if they had have elected Julie Bishop.
Mm.
But then there's probably quite a lot of other people on the very, very far right part of the party that wouldn't have voted for her. But now this is a generational change for Liberal,
Mhm.
because this is going to take them at least, they will probably lose the next election as well. I cannot see them.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot
yeah.
see
How do
them
they
win the
get
next
back again?
election, given that there's now nobody who can lead the party.
Well,
How
there is a
can they
lot
win
of-
the next election?
A lot of people theorising that if things continued on the slide towards independence, that we thought was happening, we'd probably end up with Liberal and Labor forming a coalition at some point. Like that, they've
Yeah,
become
they'd have
so
to,
much
right?
like each
Yeah,
other
yeah.
that
As
they
it
may
should.
as well just join forces and try to keep control. But
I regret making a human centipede joke earlier because I should have saved it for this moment.
yeah, that's fairly accurate. But I think I was going to say, after you were describing that those recent decisions by the Liberals in terms of female representation and the rest of it, that I don't think anyone's described their like long-term strategy better than you recently, just by saying they're punching themselves in the dick.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, it's the guy, it's the meme of the person on the bicycle leaning forward and shoving a stick through their own spokes. You know, that's how they just keep doing it again and again, because it's all it's self-interest and it's short-termism. They just can't see the bigger picture.
And I have to attribute that punching themselves in the dick is to the Queensland author John Birmingham. He has a newsletter called Alien Side Boob, which I subscribe to, and it brings my soul joy. If you are not a subscriber of Alien Side Boob or Cheeseburger Gothic, do it immediately. It's worth the $50 a year that you pay for the validation of how you feel as a human being.
It's catharsis, right?
It
I'm
is.
often saying to Jen, "What are you laughing at?" And she's like, "I'm just reading the latest."
And I'll often just read a paragraph, and it's just like, it's the most beautifully and perfectly constructed paragraph. So if you're not subscribed to John Birmingham's Alien Side Boob newsletter, please do immediately.
And I'm going to add Dave Milner. Dave Milner. So and they're doing some great stuff on The Shot at the moment. They've got actually a Sunday morning podcast, which is sort of like, you know, less annoying than Insiders, or way less annoying than Insiders. And they're doing well with that. So yeah, I mean, he's another one who just uses profane language and really colourful illustrations to just give you that sense of catharsis.
We were talking a little bit earlier when you were masturbating over data. What your what furiously trying to get it to work, I should say. We were talking a little bit before.
Doesn't sorry, keep going. You were talking before.
Hysterical. I was hysterically.
Sweat was pouring out of the room.
I told you I was almost at the station. Like,
but we were talking a little bit before about how, like, the influences in this current election campaign. So podcasters, you know, independent media outlets like Cheek Media, The Shot, all that kind of stuff. We're talking about the influence that they've had over politics in this election. Do you think that's do you think that's helped independents? Like, what do you see as the nexus between independent candidates and alternative media?
I'm not, having done a little bit of work inside that community, I know that there was a lot of them who that was a big struggle for them, to be honest. Like if I was going to generalize about what those community groups are normally made up of, it's usually heavily skewed to the older generation, which is interesting because you would think that would be more your classic Liberal voter or something like that.
Do you feel like is it mostly women, or is it?
There's a reasonable split. It's quite well split along gender lines. But one of their struggles, and this is again gross generalizations, because there's a lot of really vibrant campaigns that have loads of young people involved in them, but there were some who really struggled to attract younger people, and obviously the younger people have a lot more experience with social media and influencer culture and things like that. So I think there'd definitely be some who've nailed it and who've done it really well. I mean, Sophie Scomps is probably a good example of that. Have we seen how she went actually? That'd be a great one to check out.
Hear it?
What's that? Just say it out loud.
Xbox. It's hard to take you seriously with an Xbox.
Why? Gesticulating wildly with it?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
What was her?
Let's go to Mackellar in New South Wales. I mean, she was holding concerts with Lime Cordiale in the park that would, kind of attract a lot of people, and they worked out ways to kind of open up some of that younger demographic. So I think it's a really good question. What I guess I hope from here is that those huge swings towards some of these independent candidates don't go unnoticed. Is the worst thing that could happen.
I don't think it could possibly go unnoticed.
No.
The swings that we're seeing, they could not possibly go unnoticed.
You reckon?
No. 10.5% swing, 15% swing. You can't ignore that.
So, sorry, just to interrupt.
Yeah, so...
She looks like she's solid.
Yeah.
Unreal. And she deserves it. They've worked so hard. And they...
so 55.7% she is, and Liberals 44.3%.
That's awesome. I mean, they've been doing some demos of, what would you call it? Citizen juries. So they would select They would run a process where the community could select a series of representatives who would then go to this citizen jury process, and they did one on housing, and it was run by this excellent democracy outfit who were publicly funded, philanthropically funded, so they're independent of any kind of corporate influence, and they would just go through a kind of a facilitation style group strategy workshop to all put forward their ideas on how they think they could fix the housing crisis, and then they would all vote on it together, and then they would present it to Sophie as something that they could. I actually shot a bunch of videos on it, and then lost my life to corporate soul destroying multinational content creation work and didn't get to do anything with them. So
80-20.
Interesting though, in her seat there was a 6.3% swing to Labor.
interesting.
Yeah,
So she
she's
kind of
still-
held her ground.
Yeah, yeah,
-0.2.
yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's very interesting. So that's Sophie there. She's obviously a member of Parliament, and she was up against probably her biggest threat was James Brown from
Yeah.
the Liberals, a consultant. So
And he lost 7% of his vote.
Can I ask a random question?
Okay, random question from Luke.
come on in and sit in the middle. Go in.
Step up to the
No, I
mic
just
and
want-
say
Oh,
the sound.
oh, go.
Luke is
Bring it back.
throwing a bomb into, so I'm going to repeat the question. Go for it,
But
Luke.
I'm interested to hear about
That one's not working, so.
it isn't.
Who knows?
That's where.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
As you are like looking through the data, like are you seeing swings towards probably, I guess, traditionally you'd call it the center? Just because like, you know, a few people have been wondering about like us living in volatile times. Does that then prompt us to want to go back to what is safe or known?
Super interesting. It seems like it's splitting. From what I'm seeing, it's
Yeah.
like people are actually going not the centre, going, okay, I'm really going to vote left or I'm really going to vote right.
Yeah.
Well, off the back of that there's a question from the live stream. What impact, if any, do you think Trump's first 100 days has had on our election results?
Massive.
Or is this a far more homegrown outcome? I think an enormous reason why Dutton has not been successful is because of Trump. He has aligned himself so strongly with Trump that I think people go, oh, shit, is that actually what we're headed towards? So to your question, Luke, I think that people, I think it's actually pulled people away from the right, more to the middle, yes, definitely, but those people who are already far right leaning have gone even further right. So I think the middle of the conservative has kind of been hollowed out a little bit actually, and they've either gone a bit more to the centre or far more to the right, but that middle ground has been decimated, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a
Because people who were still open-minded but more on the conservative side have just gone, we don't know what we're getting, and if Dutton is aligning himself with Trump, and people who might have gone, oh, I think Trump's a good choice, that's a great choice, and then seen the first 100 days ago, okay, that's complete chaos. Let's not do that. You know, like.
But there are people who, for example, you know, I'm queer, and there's people in my life
So
who.
am I.
Are you? Oh,
We should get together.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
That's convenient. It could be quite awkward otherwise.
Yeah.
But I think but there are people who support me and support you, but who vote Liberal.
Yeah.
And who voted Liberal in the state government, even though the Queensland government has suspended gender affirming care for under 18-year-olds.
Trans people.
For trans people, for under 18-year-olds. So I think that people can have a kind of a split personality almost. The economic policy and housing policy is more important to them than what happens to trans youth, for example. And so I think that people can vote. Like ideally, people would want to vote, you know, for a candidate that aligns with all of their values. But they go, okay, well, the economy is more important to me than how trans people are treated, so I'm going to vote for the economy, you know. And so I think people are being forced to make that decision. Okay, well, am I in the centre? Like how far to the right am I really? Okay, I'm not really right wing. I'm just conservative, you know. So I don't know. I think
And my dad would say he's conservative. He's not a conservative, but he's conservative in terms of working out, you know, financially what's best for the country or whatever. And his vote would change over each election. He would certainly be more right leaning. But that difference between, you know, capital L Liberal and lowercase Liberal and capital C Conservative and lowercase Conservative, I think is kind of interesting as well.
And I've never been good at capital, so
Yeah.
I never know. Are you supposed to capitalise the in a title? But if it's the first word, you are. But I've never been good at that.
Well, I'll tell you who could help you out. There's a guy in Canning. I don't know if we can get there, but maybe
Canning? Oh.
And that was a dynamic question.
Yes,
Nick. I just
great,
wanna
thank
say
you.
That was
Yeah,
a hot
yeah.
drop in.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Hot
And
drop.
while we're at, actually,
Canning, was it?
because we're close to it, Luke, can we go to New England,
Oh.
if that's not too hard?
Canning.
Because Smack
Canning
Rage
is
has come in with an well, yeah, we'll
Oh.
go there next. But first, I just wanted to go to New England because Smack Rage has come in. I know we were all
Yeah.
talking earlier about how we could find a replacement for Dutton, and Smack Rage has
Oh.
suggested that the man of integrity, Barnaby, could put his hand up.
Oh, nice.
I just want
Barnaby!
if you just get a look at Barnaby's candidate
Is-
photo here.
Yeah. Is he on the?
Is it the? Is it the?
Oh, no. Passed out.
It's
And
the
he-
planter.
He sat down on a planter box to make a phone call, and he slipped on the ground.
But because he was
So-
on medication.
Oh,
He
that's
wasn't
right,
drunk.
that's
He
right.
was on
He was on
medication.
heart medication, wasn't
Yeah.
And
Poor Barnaby.
look, do I just assume? Again, I've not been able to look at results, but do I just assume that he's bloody well got his seat back again?
What is he?
that-
Is
where
he
is he?
Canning?
No, he's New England.
Oh, New England.
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'll
Like,
have a look.
people of New England, you can do
Come
better.
on.
You can do better.
Really, really do better.
Let's have
You
a look.
could have
What's
voted
that thing?
for Todd Juchow, who doesn't have a face. Like, that would have been a better choice
At
than.
least you wouldn't know if he was drunk.
No, but have a guess of the percentage.
Oh,
Oh, I don't want to.
Come on.
4.
No, of how many percent has Barnaby got
Oh, right.
of the vote?
holy shit.
62.
You are
Oh.
so close. 66%.
Oh,
Mate.
What is wrong with those?
Possible.
All right, can we go to
I love him.
Canning in Western Australia, Luke?
No data there yet because it's Western Australia.
Yeah, no, this is more just for a
Just for shits and gigs.
shits and gigs. But thanks to Smack Rage for reminding us about the potential
Yeah.
for a leader. I mean,
Sure.
he's
He's had a swing of 3.5%.
yeah, you
Towards him.
take
Yeah,
that to
towards him.
Wow.
which
The planter helped him. The planter box helped
Yeah.
him. Look at it.
that's relatable, isn't it?
I mean,
who hasn't?
Who hasn't? Who hasn't?
Whom amongst us?
All right.
Wow.
Can I take over from there,
Who's that
Luke,
Ken?
or are you?
That won't be it.
Yeah, go for it. Just, I'm not even sure if we've got the candidates in that region in this particular.
Oh, that's all right. I might just have to verbally tell this.
I know we do. There you go.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. We're zooming in.
There's someone here who knows how to use capitals. This is the point of this.
Oh, that's where we were.
Oh,
Title-
this guy's
title
amazing.
case.
So we don't have his face in here. And that could just be a database thing. But so we've got Andrew Hasty, Fernando Bove, who's a plan operator for One Nation, Jordan Cahill, who's a lawyer. And so, as I said before, people have to put on their submissions to the AEC their profession. And the next candidate, John Kerry, put himself down as not just put himself down as oversized escort, but did it in all caps. We didn't capitalize that. So on his
wow.
AEC form, he put oversized escort in all caps. And I want to say, John, we see you, we appreciate you. Big is beautiful, people have needs. And
It's fantastic.
I think
I've
just
got to
the-
Google him.
Yeah, I'm
great.
Johnny, I'm gonna give you his picture, but just give him a second. What is it, John Casey?
John Kerry.
Very.
Carey.
John Raymond Kerry. Our
John
efforts
Carey,
to make-
WA. Did you say Canning?
Canning, yep.
Okay, Canning. Let's have a look. Images. Here he is.
Canning. I think
The
that might
man,
be-
the legend.
No, that's that's
sorry.
a football player who was also running.
John Kerry. Sorry, that's John
in
Kerry.
another seat.
No.
I'm
John-
assuming
Citizens
Andrew
taking
Hasty.
responsibility. Look at him. There he is.
City of Canning.
Oh no, you were right. He
No.
looked a bit different. No, you had him. That's him.
No,
that's
that-
John Kerry.
John Kerry?
I feel like his
John
name was
Kerry.
different. I don't know if that's him.
John Raymond
Australian
Kerry.
Citizens Party. No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
John
Yeah,
Kerry.
there he is.
Oversized escort.
John Kerry. That's him.
What a legend.
Got him.
I
John,
mean,
That
We
John,
salute you.
mate, that button's doing a lot of hard work. That button's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
And he's giving people what they need.
He is amazing. Look, but on a serious note, right?
gobsmacked.
There are people in the community who are like, "Fuck this! I want to make a change."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you like?
100%.
That's remarkable. This guy must be over 65, right? And he's like, "I'm going to give this a go."
He's
I'm-
actually
I have-
56. You're
I have
exactly
so much
right. He is
respect
over
for that.
65.
Like, I would never run for politics, and I just think that is amazing. And I'm really interested to know whether he is actually an oversized escort.
Well, he's worked in construction, open cut mining, underground mining, console operator. I'm getting there. Mobito franchise, storeman in Perth and Brisbane, an Uber and taxi driver. My current occupation is an escort pilot for
Oh,
oversized
Oh,
loads,
oh my
Oh,
which takes me all over WA.
Oh,
Well, that's
it's so
disappointing.
disappointed.
Does he know what he wrote?
Oh,
Does he even understand what he
So
wrote?
disappointed.
Oversized
Or is it
escort?
just that I have a gutter mind and
what?
interpreted it immediately the
Over-
wrong
What?
way?
I thought that too. You sent it to me and I agreed with you.
escort
So,
pilot for
Oh.
oversized loads? Well, that's disappointing, John.
I
John,
still salute you because that's an important job too.
It is. It is.
Marty
I don't know how to
is-
come back from
Marty
that
that.
mean-
has said,
does that-
Marty has said, I think that may be an oversized pilot driver. Yeah.
So does that mean he drives the car in front that's got the lights on when you've got
flashing
a?
lights.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Good man. Good man.
Thanks, Marty.
Marty,
That
you've ruined my.
Ah,
Marty,
it's
you've crushed
disappointing.
my hopes and dreams.
I thought his oversized load might actually refer to his.
Where do we
escort
want to? Do we
pilot.
want to head anywhere else before we call it a night? Like, how's everybody feeling?
I'm feeling good. Look, the
Yeah.
only there
Let's
is.
sneak out for a sec. You guys keep talking.
Go for it. Look, the one that I'm super interested in as well. I don't know if anyone from the any votes from the Northern Territory have been counted yet, but Lingari is also an extremely marginal seat.
That's the huge one that we were talking about. That
Yeah.
goes forever.
So there's only
Yeah.
2 seats in the Northern Territory. Basically, there's one in Darwin, and there's one for essentially the rest of the whole state. So
Wow.
I'd love to know what's happening in Lingari. Lingiari is how we pronounce it.
Have you got any requests for Luke to throw up on the board?
Yeah. I don't know if anything from Lingari has been counted yet.
I don't. Again, I don't think so because it'll
yeah.
be
No, it has
the
been.
West Coast. Oh, really? I stand corrected.
Yeah. So the projection is that Labor is going to grab that seat by quite a margin.
Is that right?
Yeah. By like a.
So how many
8%
seats are
margin.
they projecting so far for Labor?
Good question. Well, they're projecting a win, obviously, but I don't know.
So they're not going to have to beg and plead to form a minority
I
government.
don't think
no,
so.
no, it doesn't look like it at
No.
all. Yeah.
Can we just all cross our fingers that they don't do that whole mandate shit? You know, where
Yeah.
they go, oh, we conclusively won the election. Now we're allowed to
We can
do
do whatever the
whatever
fuck we want."
cooked
Yeah.
backroom party
Shit.
shit that we can come up with
Yeah.
because of our mandate. And they forget that with preferential voting, they've gotten in on what, 30% primary
Yeah,
vote,
right.
something like that.
Yeah.
And somehow that's a third of the country is a mandate to ruin things
Everything,
for what,
yeah,
Two
yeah,
thirds of
yeah.
the other. Yeah.
80% of the country.
Yeah, so Brisbane is like a seat that's currently held by the Greens, and it looks like they're gonna hold it. But there has been a swing to the LNP.
I think a lot of people are expecting that.
Yeah,
Where was this? Sorry.
Brisbane.
Whoa.
Just fell out of my brain. He had started an OnlyFans to raise awareness
Oh,
for
yeah,
sexual
yeah.
health.
Yeah.
Stephen Bates.
Oh right, did he?
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
not know that. What's
I
he
was-
posting at? What, feet content or something?
I don't know. Yeah.
I think he just goes on and talks. about-
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah, but it's an
sexual health.
OnlyFans. Yeah. That was
Oh,
part of the
that's
thing that I
amazing.
showed you. That was people going, "Oh, they're sexualizing politics," and da da da.
Okay.
He's got his own OnlyFans page.
Cooper is the other one in Victoria with the Greens.
How about Ryan, Elizabeth?
Oh, yeah.
I've forgotten her last name. How did she go?
Greens.
Griffith looks
Watson
like
Brown?
it looks like the Greens are gonna lose Griffith, which is
Really?
decent.
Max's seat?
Yeah,
What?
looks like it.
Are
Really?
you serious?
Mhm.
To who? To Labor?
Yeah,
Really?
God.
yeah, which is a bit of a tragedy.
I wonder if people have, again, that's the question that Luke asked. Have people gone, I want to go to the centre? So maybe more left leaning have because they've gone, well, I definitely don't want Dutton in. So,
Yeah, I think the not Dutton factor is huge. But the other thing with the Greens that's super interesting is, I mean, they had such a great year in 2022,
Yeah.
and every state or local election
They
since
lost.
they got their asses kicked.
Yeah,
they did.
and
There's a
everything
lot
I
of
was reading,
theories
they were
about
saying we're going to have to really, like work
Yeah.
hard and da da da. So,
Just on your point around the Nationals, every seat that the Nationals hold are held by some of the biggest margins in the country.
Yeah.
So New England, 66% of the vote. Nichols, 68% of the vote. Page, 58% of the vote. Like Riverina, 64% of the vote. Like they're huge. They're quite significant margins, really. Yeah.
How about Groom? Have you seen anything come through for that yet?
Groom. Let's have a quick look.
first Prime Minister to return to office in 2 decades.
Mm,
In 2 decades.
that's
Said
remarkable.
frickin' turmoil.
And
We
it had to
were-
be him. Like, really?
yeah.
Well, we were talking a couple of days ago about how that if Albanese had lost this election, he would be the first government, not prime minister, but the first government to lose their their second election. So every time a government gets elected, they always win their second term, right? So if he had lost this, he would be the first government since 1929 to lose as a second term, like incumbent, basically.
Right.
So it would have been very highly unusual for him to lose this election in,
Yeah.
as opposed to, Australian electoral law, basically. So
What happened in his actual seat in terms of
Grangler?
Graendler,
yes.
Graendler.
Wrangler. I'm just interested in if that got switched at all. I don't know how to spell
switched?
that. If there was any swings at all.
I
How do
don't
we
know.
spell that?
Grandy.
D.
Gray.
Oh,
and-
Graendler.
Oh no, the Y's a little bit later.
Yeah,
Grand.
GRA.
Glad I'm not
Welcome to
that.
people typing on laptops.
I still don't know what it is. Can someone tell me? How you spell it?
GRAYNDLER.
I should know if I can. It used to be my electorate. I should.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
you go.
70.3% of the vote
Gross.
to Albanese.
Gross. Can we check out like Moncrief, Groom? Trying to think of the other Queensland independent seats. McPherson.
Moncrief, no, LNP. Sorry.
How did Kerry Jones go? Did she get much?
She's fourth behind Greens and Labor.
How about McPherson or Moncrief? Oh, we just sorry.
That was Moncrief.
Groom or McPherson.
Moncrief. Sorry, that's really.
You just did Moncrief.
good. Groom.
But even in Moncrief, there was still a 3.6% swing to the ALP, but that's not enough.
Well, we talked about Groom a little while ago, which she's not going to win. So Susie Holders doesn't look like she's going to win that, but she had a 10.9% swing towards her.
Wow.
And a 6.4% swing against. I'm so interested in Dixon. Like
Hang on, can you just do that one for me? Because if she had a 10% swing towards her, and it was on a knife's edge at the last one, how did that?
But the LNP also, based on what I think are preferences, the preference flow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So the primary vote, the LNP, is ahead. But based on preference flows, they think that the LNP is going to win it.
Okay. How about? Oh, what have we got here? Lingiari. Can I control that one, Luke? Where are we here? Just on, what was the other one I was going to ask you about? It was Jess Price in Bean in the ACT.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's the independent, right?
Yeah.
And the ACT is a traditionally very, very strong Labor stronghold.
Well, it's also a Green. I mean, they've got a Green. Aren't the Greens in? Oh no, it's
Okay.
Labor. That's the cheap stuff.
Guess what's happening?
What?
Okay, so it's between the Labor Party and the Independent. Give me some percentages. Tell me your hopes.
Where are we?
Tell me your hopes and dreams.
Hopes and Dreams would be 52% to the Independent.
You are fucking spot on.
Really?
Heard it here first.
52%, exactly.
Oh my god!
As predicted by the ABC.
Well done.
Where are we?
Bean.
Kudos to her
BA.
group. That's incredible. They
That is
worked really hard
amazing.
for that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
that was some savant level.
Oh, I can't
Yes.
claim anything. It was a complete out of my ass. But I was just
Luke was feeding it from the other room.
Yeah.
Give me another one to guess. Quick, Luke, tell me.
3.
I'm receiving a message from God.
Yeah.
Who have we got here? I can't remember why we were looking at this, but I guess it's just another chance to look at the beautiful faces of the diverse people that are willing to run.
Yeah.
You know, the country. You got multiple uses of the color orange here with the Country Liberal Party and One Nation. I just want to give a quick, this is getting down the nerd rabbit hole a little bit. I want to give a quick shout out to the Greens and whoever looks after your social media and your photography.
Oh, yeah.
The resolution that they offer on the web. I mean,
Look at that.
6K in many cases, just incredible detail. And it makes my job so much easier and more satisfying.
Isn't it?
One Nation would often have their images on the web in CMYK format. Oh, am I right? Instead of RGB? You know what
I got nothing.
As if you would,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, what are they sending their how to vote cards off to an offset printer or something?
Correct. No, they're just doing it in their office.
Niche humour.
That's what you tune into the undercurrent.
That's
for.
right. You're welcome, everybody. Okay, well, Luke,
To let you know, I feel your pain about CMYK, so
You know what I'm talking
I'm
about?
on you. Yeah.
and it would always catch me out because then it would start processing all the other images in CMYK just because anyway.
I don't want that.
I'm
Nobody
boring
wants
people.
that.
One Nation infecting thing.
So can we just ride that little wave of euphoria of an independent
Of an independent.
having
yeah,
some success? Let's hope. I
absolutely.
mean, you can't call
What
that.
are your other independents that you wanted to have a look at?
What about Monash? Deb Leonard in Monash.
Monash. Okay, let's have a quick look. Monash.
How you doing over there, Johnny? Having a good time? Killing it on the Switch?
Doesn't look good in Monash,
Nah.
unfortunately.
Damn it.
No. Looks like the Liberal Party's are going to
Liberal,
get that.
yeah,
Liberals are
yeah,
gonna get that
smashing it.
one.
And Solomon in the Northern Territory?
Oh, Solomon, yeah. Doesn't look good either.
Okay.
No.
Oh, how about Wannon? Alex Dyson, former
yeah.
Triple J.
Ah,
You remember Tom and Alex on the radio? This is his second crack at it.
Fuck, he did well, 45%.
Ah,
He did so well. That is so close.
we're going too fast for you, Luke. Sorry, bro.
Based on preferences, 45%. He's got 31% of the vote.
Can I have control?
Yeah. So, but what's interesting, he's had a 13% swing towards him. The Labor Party's had a 13% swing away from him. So obviously, the Labor Party, the Independent has, snaffled a lot of that Labor Party vote.
where are we?
In Wannon, WA.
sorry.
Did you have that on screen then while I was doing that?
And Wannon is a key seat, right?
Oh,
again,
I'll
go
do it
back.
again. Hang on, I'll go over. This is what it's come to tonight. This is how I'm dealing with the pain of
Yeah,
a
good.
Labor majority government. All right, so Kit, ready? Let's talk about Wannon again.
Oh, yeah.
As I
3,
pilot my way
2,
in 3,
1.
2, 1, and action.
Go. Okay, so Wannon, Alex Dyson, as you were saying, of former.
Oh.
Start again. Okay, start again. Okay, wait.
Completely lost my
Wait.
mojo.
Okay, wait.
Oh, this is terrible.
No, start again. Start again.
Okay.
We've got you covered, man. Okay.
Go back.
And
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Okay, so we're talking about Wannon, and now Alex Dyson. What was the radio show they did? Matt and Alex, is it?
Wasn't it
Oh,
the drive time one? Or they were on breakfast at one point, or was it drive time? It was.
not sure.
Yeah, it was Matt and Alex, but before that was Tom Ballard.
And it's
Tom-
Matt O'Kane, is that the
Matt
person?
O'Kane was the
Matt O'Kane,
yeah.
sorry, yeah, Matt O'Kane and Alex Dyson. So based on preference, the projection based on preference count is that Alex will get 45% of the vote. Now,
Wow.
like I said to you, the really interesting and important part about it is if they win more than a certain percentage, I think it's 5%, but I'm not 100%
I think
sure.
it's 3.
Is it?
Oh, no.
Well, I'm not sure. This was years ago when I did that research, but if they get a certain percentage, they get funded
Yeah,
for the next election.
that's
So
right.
that's
Right.
amazing because
Don't they get like 30 cents per
vote,
first preference vote? Or
yeah,
something
something
like
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that doesn't sound like very much.
that? Maybe it's $3.50.
I'd like at least $3.
Again, you
like,
come here for us just pulling random figures.
Yeah,
out.
but what that means is that it's funding for the next election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, which is important. So all of these independents will hopefully have a much more well-funded campaign next time around. But not only that, like a more well-funded community organisation that they can start emboldening over the next 3 years to put pressure on their members. Right. So yeah, I think that's important.
And if we'd had time, we would have been executing little sort of camera moves like this, where you can just sort of
Oh yeah.
just
scan.
appreciate
Oh look, he's like Leo's hair.
the diversity. Robbie Swan's really representing well
retired.
there. And okay, some of the faces.
Your eyes are following me.
It
Julie's
does that,
eyes
doesn't it?
followed me.
Yeah.
That was spooky.
Well, Alex,
Nice work.
bravely fought.
Yeah, good on you, mate.
I hope they have another crack. Like there is a real consensus that some of these community independents need 2 or 3 goes at
Yeah.
it to build the kind of following because of how much they're up against. And you're right, you're dead on about the funding. Like when you think about what people kind of bellyache about Climate 200 funding them or Simon Combs of Court pulling the strings, but when you look at what's behind the major parties, you can't even compete
compare.
with what they're
Can I
starting
just tell
with.
you a quick story?
Please.
So in 2014, at the end of 2014, Peter Dutton flew to Perth for an hour to attend Gina Rinehart's 70th birthday for an hour. No photos of the event. Gina Rinehart had a portrait commissioned of the event, which is hanging in the Roy Hill mine. One of the mines that obviously that Hancock Holdings owns, and it's her and Peter Dutton sitting right next to her.
Oh.
Oh my god.
So he asked for no photos to be taken. Someone painted a goddamn
Yeah,
picture
I'm gonna
of it
just
there.
I'm just
That's-
gonna bring it up for you in a
Wow.
second. A mural
Wow.
Dutton
That is
Reinhardt.
fantastic.
And I think in terms of those independents and the younger independents as well, and in terms of social media, like how much easier is it to influence voters who are on social media all the time in terms of just campaigns or just conversations or just keeping in the loop of things, as opposed to, oh, I've got to take out an ad in the Courier Mail or whatever it might be. You know, like it's the.
I saw a stat in the last couple of days that Labor. What do you got? Is that the photo?
This is part of the mural. It's not the full mural. I'll show you the full thing in a second.
That's fantastic.
That is,
Oh, is it a whole mural?
it's a whole. That's like an eighth
Coming
of
over.
the actual mural.
Oh my God.
Let me show you the full picture. That's the full picture
Oh my God.
there. So that's Guy Sebastian. That's some polo happening there. That's so in the white shirt to the left of the screen there is Gina, and to the immediate right of her is Peter Dutton. Pauline Hanson's in there at the very end on the table.
Has he got hair?
No, it's just a reflection of the light.
Okay.
It's
That's
just
frightening.
So this mural is hanging in the reception of Roy Hill Mine. So when you talk about how dare Climate 200 fund these, independents, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, right.
And he's pulled that move recently within the last couple of years. He's made a few of those private party trips and somehow connected it to a taxpayer-funded flight over there, and he's used Gina's plane for one of them. I'm pretty sure. So
Totally.
And then Barnaby's obviously that's a democratic way of putting it. I'm going to say connected to Gina. So yeah, it's really
What's Guy Sebastian doing?
And to your point about the social media thing, I just remembered that there was a story a couple of days ago that said that Labor had outspent almost everybody else by a factor of 4 on meta ads and things like that.
Really?
So
they knew
clearly
that they had
saw
to,
the writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
I guess they were probably learning a little bit from what the Democrats did in the US, but they've done it far more effectively if you look at the results.
One of the other interesting things that I don't think that we've really seen the impact of in this election is AI. So there's been a bit of talk, over the last couple of days about, Russian propaganda farms just pumping information out, not necessarily for humans to read, but for AI to absorb, so that when humans tap into the AI, they're getting answers that are being fed by Russian troll farms, right? So I don't think that I don't think we've seen that yet in this election, but I think we will in the next state and federal election.
Playing the long game with that.
Yeah, so I don't think we've seen that impact yet, but I think we will in the next 2 to 5 years. Yeah,
I hadn't heard that. That's amazing.
I didn't even remotely think about that. So if I'm a little person, tell me the party that most aligns with my views on X, Y, and Z. Well, the 650 media articles published by, the guy who's holed up in the Russian embassy in Canberra, who's publishing all this stuff to his blog that AI scrapes. What impact does that have on the election?
Well, we not to bellyache again about missed opportunities, but I actually had a proven AI prediction model that was based off Anthony Green's initial strategies for predicting elections, and then had extended on it to include things like independence. But it was using local AI models that I downloaded to my computer, some of which do originate from the People's Republic of China. So I was excited to see Xi Jinping declare the winner of the Australian election.
It's so disappointing that we haven't been able to do that.
Yeah,
But even how much AI will develop between now and 3 years' time, what the competition is of what you access or who you even tap into, or
Yeah,
who knows?
Can we do Cowper in New South Wales or Victoria? I'm trying to remember.
Cowper is.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be awesome.
Cowper is in New South Wales, isn't it? I could be wrong there, but
I'm pretty sure it's New South Wales. Central.
Nationals. Oh,
Kaz Heiss, how's she doing?
Have
You
another
make a
guess.
guess again?
Have another guess, mate.
49?
No, higher,
53?
lower.
51?
Yes,
Yeah,
51.
that's awesome.
That's projected. 51 to 49, so it could be.
Are you on me as I'm piloting? Can I,
Do it well.
Come on. I keep forgetting
Where
which
is it?
stick
Where
is
is it? Where is
which.
it?
That's what she said.
Oh,
Oh, no,
down.
it was a
One
hard
under,
one. That was
one
rough.
under.
Oh, and he smacked it down again. It's
Oh.
double bump. That's not cool. All right.
glad you're not a pilot.
Yeah, you should.
Escort pilot. They're heavy loads. Your load was too heavy, mate. You need to let some of that go.
There she is. Kaz. So that's at least a second crack at it, I think.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
right.
Third, I think, maybe. Is it?
It could be. So
Yeah.
that's Rob Oakeshot's old seat. So former independent who played a role in the Gillard government that was a hung parliament and was one of the most productive, made the most legislation out of any in history. I
Yep.
think,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I think
And
it's so interesting just to see what people are, like what they do. A handyman, like it's a
check
you know,
out Jeffrey
like
and his
chef.
box of mushrooms.
Is that mushrooms?
Yeah, that's
He's a chef. Look at him go.
Do we think they're magic? He's got a good smile on his face.
I can get closer. Can you judge from that or? No,
That's quite a few different varieties.
It is.
Yeah.
Chanterelles, maybe there's some truffles in the front there.
That's
It's
good.
Yeah.
fantastic.
Some big and some gigantic enoki.
And then we've got support worker, home maintenance for Family First, a business owner for the LP's Libertarian Party. Have we seen any
Oh,
data on how
no.
the Libertarian Party went?
No,
No,
Because,
seen anything.
again, I didn't want to draw any stereotypical conclusions from how people looked in the photos, but it was kind of easy
However.
when it came to the Libertarian Party.
Into the white dudes.
Big Jeffrey.
So hats off to everybody for going, I'm going to go and do this thing. Like here's Zeke being a student going, okay, I'm going to run.
And I also want to shout out the Legalised Cannabis Party because when it came to
Oh, yeah.
stereotype bingo on how people looked and whose party they would run for, if I saw a person who looked like a stoner, it was a pretty safe bet that they were running for the Legalised Cannabis Party. That's not surprising. But this is fascinating thing is many of the people who ran for legalised cannabis did not look like stoners.
No.
So obviously people out
They're in
there dealing
pain.
with chronic health,
Yeah, right.
chronic
Yeah,
pain, and they're finding good solutions there and something that
So the Cooper, not Cowper, Cooper, the Greens candidate. This is Tara Burnett. She is the first trans candidate,
Oh,
I
wow.
think, to run. I think
so.
she's the first. I'm not sure. She won 33% of the vote based on preferences. So the Labor Party won. It looks like the Labor are going to hold that seat. It looks like they'll get there by quite a margin. But she is the first trans candidate actually to run for the Australian. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure that that's right.
what a legend.
Yeah. So and she's running for the Greens, or she's a candidate for the Greens. So that's pretty
Cool.
fucking bonkers.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How did
So-
Mandy Nolan do? Which she I
Oh.
can't remember.
Byron somewhere. What's the Byron ones? What are our options
Let's
there?
just slowly fly there, shall we? Take our time.
Over New England.
It's got to be
Over
past Page,
yeah,
potentially here into
Gonna be
Richmond. Would it be
Red.
Richmond?
Richmond.
Maybe, yeah.
Is that it?
Richmond.
Have you got any Richmond candidates you could easily chuck up there, Luke? Again, our magic system that we were hoping to run,
Yeah.
they would have just
Next time.
appeared from out of the
Imagine what's going to happen next election.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
Out of control.
Totally.
Little taste of
This
what's
was
possible.
a week.
It wasn't
What?
even.
No.
It wasn't even.
When
a
did
week.
you have lunch? Last
Did I what,
week.
sorry?
You had lunch last week.
Yeah, it was last week,
Yeah.
and Jen talked me into doing it.
I did.
so-
It was this. All of this is actually my fault.
There she is, man. How did Mandy go? Did you got any data on that?
Yeah, just looking at that now. Richmond.
As I just pile it like a chump.
Mandy Nolan for the Greens. Richmond.
Oh, guess it.
53.
Point
2.
2.
Wow. Did
Go
she
Mandy.
really?
Yep.
That's unreal.
Who-
Well
who-
done.
Who had it previously?
Labor Party.
It was Labor.
Wow.
Go Mandy.
So we've got some,
Pays to be a comedian.
and can we just quickly do a round the horn on the sitting teal independents? So
Yeah.
you
So
know, Kate Cheney was on a knife's edge, I think, in Curtin.
Curtin.
Uh,
Oh,
No,
we
that's
won't
not
know
right.
anyone from Curtin at the moment because they're in Perth.
Oh,
so we
that's
won't
true.
have
Yeah, let's
anything
not
on
start there, hey.
Only 2 hours.
that.
How? Yeah, Kooyong for Monique Ryan. I'm guessing she would have been pretty
Looks
safe.
like she's pretty good. Yeah.
How about, and we've already seen Sophie Scomps smashed it in McKellar.
Yep.
How about Allegra Spender in Wentworth?
Wentworth.
And here's, look, can I just spend my time just sort of while you're
Allegra
doing that?
Spender. Okay, guess this percentage.
53.2.
Go high, much higher.
64. What? Are you serious?
One more.
71.
65.
Oh, one more as in one more.
Yeah.
You can tell I've...
65.
Wow,
Guinea
that's
food.
crazy.
She had a 9.2% swing towards her.
That's
Wow.
incredible.
Where was she?
She is in Wentworth. Yeah, Sydney. Yeah. So Wentworth was John Howard's election.
Malcolm Turnbull.
Oh, Malcolm Turnbull.
Yeah, Warringah was...
Oh, yeah.
No, Warringah was
Bennelong was.
Tony Abbott's.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Wentworth was Turnbull.
does he
Yeah.
jog? He was his jogging.
What are the other ones I'm thinking of? So what about It'll come to me. Teal independence. Talk amongst yourselves
Okay.
while I remember.
Got nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just liking these people.
Isn't it beautiful?
Look at that.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who ran.
Yeah.
It keeps them honest, you know? It stops them from saying that they have a mandate.
What do you think that like, how much do you think this is going to have an impact on state politics now? Because when is the next Queensland election is obviously not due for another 3 years, right? But I think there's an election in
Victoria.
Western Australia just had one. I think Victoria might be due. I could be wrong, but I think there might be another one there. What do you think the impact of that's going to be?
I don't know, because so often it doesn't go to federal, won't necessarily
it
relate to
doesn't.
state. It'll almost backlash of, well, if you're in charge here, we're going to make
can't
sure
with
we.
you,
cut-
yeah.
yeah. Who knows? I think it's we like to vote for the underdog in anything.
I think it's a lot harder
Very
for an
odds.
independent to get up
In a
In
state
state
election.
state level than it is
Yeah.
federally. So that's a little bit frustrating. But
Yeah.
did we get an answer before on Elizabeth Watson-Brown in Ryan?
Yeah, I think
that-
she canned it.
Yeah.
She boned that. Well, I think they lost that one.
Really?
Oh, no, they
No,
didn't.
no,
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 sorry. No.
Yes.
Sorry, no, that was the other Greens candidate in.
Max.
Yeah,
It's
Max.
my guy.
I'm so
It was Griffith, yeah.
Do you think that was? I mean, he was the most vocal and the most media fronted member of the Greens cohort, and just went so hard. I thought everything he said was factually based, but
yeah.
do you think it's something about the way he went about it that turned people off, or
I
I don't know. And was the swing to Labor from there?
swing
what
to the
you mean?
Greens. No,
No, you're in hers.
Oh,
so,
sorry,
yeah.
Ryan. Yeah, so Elizabeth
guess.
Watson-Brown.
oh, I didn't guess.
Yeah,
51.3,
no,
62.
no.
This is
It's a great
exciting
game.
TV, isn't it?
58. 58.
Let's just go with how you say it, and I don't know.
58. Yeah,
58. Wow, really?
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, swing towards it. Sorry, what was the other one?
Max Griffith.
Griffith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he kept that. But we'll see.
Really?
Really surprising.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Quite
Labor.
a significant swing to Labor, actually, 6%.
Oh, actually, Renee Coffey had billboards everywhere.
she did.
Everywhere.
And
That's
she's
true.
like
Yeah.
Jess, who was going to be here tonight but couldn't make it. She knows Renee quite well. And apparently, she's a gun. Like,
Yeah,
she's the
right.
real
Yeah.
deal. So
Yeah.
swings and roundabouts.
And as I said, that was my electorate. So when I did a quick search, it was like I have no problems giving that preference. Like,
And what's interesting is that this is why the kind of the safe marginal kind of thing has been a bit of a bust this election, because the AEC classifies that as a safe seat to the Greens by 10.5% margin.
wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so marginal seats as they're defined in Australia, marginal seats are if you have a margin of over 60, like if you have more than 60% of the vote,
Right.
so a 10% margin, it's a very safe seat.
Mhm.
It's a safe seat. If you've got between but like more than 4 but less than 10, it's a fairly safe seat.
Mhm.
And if you've got under 4%, it's a marginal seat.
Mm.
So under 4% still being considered a marginal seat, and some of these seats are on 0.02%.
Yeah.
Right.
So sorry, are you saying that Max lost on from a 10% margin? Wow.
Huge.
I'd
huge.
be fascinated to know what the primary driver of that is. Like,
Yeah.
he's easily the most visible Green from the last election
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
Is it?
And he didn't have a swing away from him, which is interesting, right? Like,
So it's other voters that
preferences.
come to Labor.
Yeah.
So LNP did
well,
LNP
actually,
go to?
it's actually the preference flow, I think, because the Labor Party has 35% of the vote and he has 34.8% of the vote, but they're predicting that the Labor Party will win with 59.6% of the vote.
But the LNP lost
8%.
8%, and Labor gained 6%.
Mm.
So he's gained 0.2%. So he hasn't gone away from him.
Hasn't
but
lost.
Labor.
Yeah, the
Didn't win
people who
Labor.
were voting to other people were
Yeah.
voting Labor.
So have they got any indication of the net situation for the Greens? So they've lost
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Griffith and they've
Yeah.
potentially lost Brisbane, you were saying?
Yeah.
Stephen Bates is in a bit of trouble, or was that was sort of blind ball?
Don't know. Let's have a look. No, that he's out. Yeah,
He's
he
out,
was
yeah.
third. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
So they potentially are going backwards, but they've picked up Mandy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many Green seats?
No, let's have a look.
Is there anywhere else in the country you'd like to go before we say
No,
goodnight to the?
yeah, I think we're ready to say goodnight. I am
Yeah.
disappointed that we haven't been able to see any of the West Australian seats like Sturt come in yet, but
Yeah.
that's okay. That'll be just me
2 hours away.
privately
Yeah.
looking at them
Yeah,
over my phone in 2 hours' time.
Yeah.
I also want to say condolences to Kylie Tink for losing her seat of North Sydney in the redistribution.
Yeah, that's
And had a chance to do some brief things with her, and she is the real deal. Like, I think she could be easily the next Prime Minister of Australia if she's
wow.
given the chance. So, yeah, really sad to
Did
see
she
that.
run for another seat?
There was talk of her potentially running for Senate, and I
Right.
don't think that eventuated. So,
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
that would have been an interesting race.
And she's actually a country girl, so she potentially was thinking of going back to, I can't remember what the
Where?
electorate was, but she might have had a more of a rural run.
Yeah,
Would have
right.
been super interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, guys.
go.
Yeah, that's certainly not the outcome I was hoping for, but it's better than the alternative of
I want to get Luke's wrap up opinion.
totally.
Yes.
Do you want to? Is there anything that you've been working on in there that we need to see? Or it's just been the ongoing effort to fix Dan's disastrous database situation? You should take us place of
on,
honour in the centre there, and
please.
we want to talk to you. There's a microphone there.
You can
even have my microphone.
You know what? You can even hold the fly swatter of destiny.
Fly swatter
Yeah.
of destiny? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
What do
You can
guys
choose
get up
which
to?
electorate you want to swap.
You can
Great.
point
Yeah.
to the electorate
yeah.
and
I mean, like the whole of Australia is kind of awesome, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
we've just been, I don't know, the biggest thing that I've taken away from the last week of just staring at 1,200 candidates is that we're an extremely varied nation, and it's awesome that like so many people care so much. So
I agree with
got to
that.
have a little bit of sentimentality in there somewhere.
I thought after staring into the cold dead eyes of 1,200 aspiring politicians, I would feel more jaded about politics, but I actually feel less, which is cool. Like
Everyone's a winner.
Exactly.
yeah,
what's that?
I don't know. I just feel like we never get to see their faces. We only see the highly paid headshots of the major party candidates normally. So just getting a look at
Or
people
the
who
news
are willing,
bites.
or the what? Sorry.
The news media, but like
Yeah.
the bites of media, yeah.
Just seeing that there are people out there willing to have a crack. I think we just have to find a way to make more people feel like it's possible. I suppose. And when you see success stories like some of these independents, that
Yeah.
are- we're not going to see Forrest yet, are we? Dr. Sue Chapman in Forrest would be a fascinating one to see if that comes in. But I was interested. Not to just focus on your domain of expertise, but I guess that's what a good thing to do.
You're on the couch. You're on the couch.
You work in the arts a lot. You've worked on decent sized films and TV productions and things like that. You've seen what it takes for those things to happen, both with international money coming in, but also the local scene. What do you want for the future in terms of political action when it comes to revitalising the arts?
Mate, what a question.
Where do we
It's totally on the
start?
spot there.
Yeah, I know, right? Revitalizing the arts is honestly, I don't think it's just an Australian question. It has to be like what do we as a world, how are we responding to
I've really
got-
put you on the spot, haven't I?
well, like because it just crosses over so many different bounds, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like for me, the crossover with the arts has always mostly been with the economy, and it always has to do with like tax, taking various companies from say Canada over to Australia and then back again and then over to another place that suddenly has another tax thing.
Producer offset.
Yeah,
right off.
exactly. So like for me, just looking at the world and the economy and how it is, volatile is a kind word. Like I have no idea what's going to happen next. I don't know what do the tariffs mean for arts? There's just all of these questions. So I just think like having a government which isn't actively hostile to the arts, it's a start. I'm happy about
It
that.
would be nice. And Zach, I think you've spent a lot of time dealing with grant applications in that scene.
Yes.
and,
But what's also interesting is if governments aren't funding arts courses at universities, and a lot of my mates are lecturers or heads of departments in drama departments or whatever across Australia, if they're not being funded, then high school students are actually being discouraged from taking drama courses. Music is getting cut, like everything is getting cut from curriculum even, because only 8 students, or students are being told you won't get a high enough, whatever the name of it is now, score to get into university. And anyway, there's not many courses available now. So then the uni courses get closed, and then the drama classes or the music classes or the art classes or whatever get taken away because only 8 students are enrolling, and there's not enough to justify that to have a teacher. So we're losing generations, and the next generation of artists and theatre makers or creatives because governments aren't funding it on a basic kind of level through education.
And we're probably still feeling the aftershocks of the Morrison government jacking up humanities degrees for
Yeah.
no apparent reason and the rest of it. But,
Mm.
I mean, I hope, like, it feels like it's the first thing to go when times are tight, which sucks because we need it so badly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the populist movements overseas and the scary way they're headed, my brain often just thinks, man, those people could use some more of the arts in their lives. Like it sounds like a silly thing to say, but it broadens the mind and it opens you to new possibilities and the rest of it. So
Can I just give you were asking a little bit a second ago about seats, thank you. You can point to my laptop. If you want to just, I don't know if you want to chuck this up, Johnny. So this is an amazing website called The Poll Bludger. I don't know if you've been into the, I fucking love his stuff. Anyway, he's great. And so he's given us a little a tally there, the independents of 1-5 and they're ahead in 11.
wow,
Wow.
really?
Yeah, so that's obviously not a guarantee.
Can you
that-
read them out? Has he got a
I'm not sure, but I will in a second. But the other thing, the other interesting part about it is that the independents have had a 4.5% overall, a 4.5% swing towards them. The coalition have had a overall over the whole of the country a 6% swing. A 4% swing against them. And the Trumpet of Patriots have had a 1.9% swing towards them. So to your question before, Luke, the coalition have lost a lot. Trumpet of Patriots, others, One Nation. So One Nation has gained voters. Trumpet of Patriots has gained voters. So they're really carving out that conservative vote. Yeah. So I'm going to do a bit of scrolling now. So maybe take me off there, Johnny, because I don't want to make it quick. But yeah, so McKellar has been retained by an independent. The independent is ahead in Fowler. Warringah, the independent.
Hang on.
That's,
Oh, that'd be Di Lee and Fowler. So
yeah, sorry, the senator.
Yep.
Yep. Warringah, Zali has retained it. Wentworth, obviously, we talked about that earlier. They've retained it.
Helen Haynes in Indo.
I don't know.
Sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, Indo. Yep, she's retained it. Yep. In Goldstein, the independent is ahead.
Zoe Daniel.
Yep. And Clark to retain in Tasmania, the independent is retaining that one.
Oh, that's Andrew Wilkie. I think it's close to one of the safest seats in the country.
It's pretty bonkers, isn't it? Yeah. So they're the ones that we know about. And we've got a few where, like Kooyong, the independent is ahead. In Goldstein, the independent is ahead. In Caldwell, the independent is ahead. Yeah.
Luke, similar to me, you've been sitting in front of a shockingly deep amount of election data over the past few days. Have you got any other little insights that you've drawn from the experience?
I mean, like the rest of it's pretty esoteric. Like the sheer size of the country has been just amazing to look at. Like those stats about like Lingiari and Durack especially shocked me. But also just like the strange little facts about like Bean. Like the reason that name is out there is because Bean counts for a little bit of, like Canberra has a lot of those electorates that have a bit of Canberra and then an island. So Bean has Norfolk Island.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And then you've got Fenner, which has what was it?
Oh,
the Jarvis Bay Territory.
Right. Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
was like this strange little
Down here.
pub quiz trivia bit
Yeah.
about like when Canberra was formed, they decided that they needed sea access. So New South Wales carved out this 67 square kilometre section, which was to ostensibly give, the pollies access to the ocean if they ever needed
A hovercraft
So
port.
this is the ACT, yeah, right.
Did you know that at Brisbane Airport, if you go to the very back docks of the airport along towards the Nudgee side, you can still see Christopher Scase's hovercraft landing pad?
Oh, wow. Really?
It's pretty bonkers. Yeah.
I was trying to find. I think I'm getting a little like drunk pilot syndrome here, but the Fenner one's hilarious. Like just seeing how much it's split between.
To the
Gotta
left.
be around here
Fenner
somewhere,
was
right?
to the left. Pink to the left. Keep going. One more left. Yep, that pink. Fenner.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's just got this tiny little bit of
of Jarvis Bay,
Of Jarvis
just
Bay.
so they can have beach access. Yeah, there you go.
But they've got to get it from the beach through the land. So how does that work? They've still got to pay the toll.
I've got no idea. Like that.
Is it Jarvis Bay because that's a military naval base?
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got like a naval base and something else.
Right.
I forget what, but
Well, Luke, just want to say you're a bloody legend.
Yeah, well
because
done.
You took my harebrained idea and got further with it than anybody else that I know possibly could have. And thank you for the patience and the time and everything.
Yeah,
Really-
you are an absolute legend.
all good.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me ride along with you guys.
And it's got. I reckon there's a potential for
It's
the
got legs.
future.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Johnny, I reckon we need a final word from you as well, man. How you feeling? Are you optimistic about the future, or you know what's? Come on, I'm going to swap with you. You jump in there.
I'm getting off the seat.
I've got to get off.
Gotta go and do some data.
Oh,
Jen's got some really important questions for you.
oh, there you go. I've got an important question actually.
Yeah, shoot.
After tonight, who is the current Prime Minister of Australia?
Did you
Were you,
guys
were
say?
you paying attention?
I may have blanked out.
You retained it.
Oh, so it's that Albanese
Correct.
guy.
Nice work. Yeah, you're
Oh.
good work. Good
Oh,
work.
hang on, but wait. I was driving through Ipswich
Ah.
and they had a billboard saying that Labor won't fix Ipswich roads. So does this now mean there's
They've
no
right.
roads?
We were out there today, and yeah, they will
more.
not be fixed. There's going to be potholes.
Just that's it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
well, you heard it there, Ipswich.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
But hopefully the rest of the country.
Yes, in good shape. Yeah.
we need roads fixed. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, who knows? You know, we can now that we've done this. You know, I think we've flushed the system.
Yeah,
And, it's a pretty good first round.
got the bugs out. That's good.
Uh,
We'd have a test run. So this evening, I know you're over there, but how will you take your approach to next election voting?
I would like to think
Yeah, good.
that at the very least I'll look at this ABC compass.
Mm-hmm.
Vote compass, yep.
I might even look into my local electorate
Mm-hmm.
and find out what their names are and
Good.
what they stand for.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you know, it's my country too,
Nice work.
and I should care more about it than I do about just who won the footy
Yeah, good.
or what the latest Hearthstone patch is. So
And
yeah.
you won't be running yourself. You're not that inspired yet.
No. But hey, you know what? Like, let's see.
Who knows?
You know, we've got a lot of smart brains among us.
We
here,
do.
so,
And I just want to give you one little factoid. The Liberal Party are on track for their worst result in an election.
I'd like to be disappointed in that.
That plug.
Not.
That plug's going to
Have
lose.
they given away Dixon yet, or is it?
Oh, good question.
Surely,
I will
surely.
find it. Anthony called it.
Well,
As in Ford Dutton?
no. God, no. Yeah.
Yep, ALP gain.
Ali's got it.
He's called it. He's called it.
We can probably end tonight on
We
that.
might end on that note. The Dut plug has
Happy
been,
with that.
someone has expelled the Dut plug. Someone has been taken to hospital and the Dut plug has been removed.
So
Wow.
he's out.
He's
done.
out.
Wow.
He's done.
That is such a. I cannot tell you how much of a
Wow.
relief that is to as a queer trans person. That is
Yeah.
such a relief.
Absolutely.
Like seriously, in terms of access to medical care, just if we were to follow what has happened in the States, which has already started to happen here in Queensland in terms of the Queensland government, like the stress through the trans community about Dutton getting in has been huge.
Mm.
So that is a massive, massive relief.
Dutton has given his concession speech.
Wow.
Unreal.
There
Thank
go.
you.
At least
With
that's one
that.
positive we can end it. Dan, you've got to come back for the
Come on.
final goodbye, mate. That's
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out if I had a microphone left. I do.
Yeah.
Oh, how's that? All right, I'm just going to cut to the wide angle, and we're just going to say thank you to everyone for. No, it's that camera there.
There. What, it's
Thank you
always
to
been.
everyone for joining us in this interactive, warts and all experience, and a massive
Inaugural.
thank you to Zach, Jen, Johnny, Luke, total legends.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate it.
And can I just
Well done.
say, like, what you have tried to do over the past 5 days has been, you and Luke, I must say, and what you've tried to do. So,
Can we just emphasize the word
Tried.
try a little?
can I just point out, this is what happened. Dan messaged me about 3 weeks ago and said, hey, do you want to catch up? We hadn't spoken in maybe 2 or 3 years or whatever. And I was like, that sounds amazing. I've been thinking about you. And he was like, I've been doing all this amazing nerdy AI stuff. I'm like, great, let's. Oh, he's like, I want to do an election thing. I'm like, what's stopping you? Let's do it. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And then I saw your wife just before we started, and she's like, you're to blame.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks
Really
a lot.
appreciate it.
We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Hey, it's a learning experience and it shows what's
Yeah,
possible.
totally.
And
But also,
good to
what's
chat.
possible in a week, right? Of just going, I'm going to commit to this and
Yeah.
see what happens. So
I
well
just
done,
like talking
kudos.
about stuff that matters with good
Yeah.
people. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I didn't even get a chance to drop any knowledge about modern monetary theory, so there's just so much
Oh.
potential. You know, everyone would have been bored shit.
Ah.
Well, yeah. Unless there's anything from anyone else on Twitter, on YouTube, which big thanks from Buckaroo says, chuck this one up. Proud to have voted with y'all. How good is Australia?
Yeah.
Very good.
Lucas says, love your work, guys. And Smack Rage comes back in with a well done, everyone. No, well done to you, Smack Rage, for what you've contributed to
Yeah,
today's
That was
discussion.
was that butt plug?
That was butt plug, and that was correcting our mistake that it was a heavy
Load.
driver.
That was
Yeah,
nearly
e-
some
escort.
misinformation there. yeah.
Well, it could have even saved us from a lawsuit. Like it could have potentially avoided. So I kind of owe the guy.
Pilot,
Thanks, Marty.
driver for heavy loads.
How we doing?
That's it.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks, team.
Wrap.
I'm gonna go push the magic button.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Adios.
Guys. Thanks, team.
Peace and love.
Bye, Dutton. Yow!
Night, night, everyone.
Wrap. That's a wrap. Holy crap.
Holy shit,
Well
you
done.
guys. That was what you managed.